22-year-old pizza delivery boy Jed Lowen is suing his former roommate, 23-year-old retail salesperson Kelly Postumus, for unpaid rent, unpaid loans, and the value of a dog. Kelly is countersuing for the return of her property.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 35 on the calendar in the matter of Lowen versus Postumus. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Mr. Lowen, it is your claim that the defendant owes you for rent, some money that you loaned to her, and is responsible for your puppy being lost. She says that you owe her money because you stole stuff from her storage unit. So you're going to explain this situation to me, starting with how she came to live in your house.
Okay, she married a good buddy of mine. She moved in. They both shared a room for $500 a month. And
so you had a friend
yeah.
who married her.
Yes.
And he was your tenant.
Yes.
Okay. When did he move in?
Beginning of September 1st.
With his wife?
Yes.
That's the defendant.
Yes.
And then what happened?
Well, actually, they moved in, and then they got married like a week later. And then he paid $430, and then he left September 26th. He took off. He ditched her, and then she ended up staying because she had nowhere to go, so I let her stay. And then, so I'm asking for rent money.
Let's move on. So you let her stay?
Yes.
And did you have a rental arrangement with her?
Yes.
What was the arrangement?
Well, first of all, when they were married together, it was $500 a month. And then, you know, if it's just her, it's $400 a month.
Starting in October?
Yes.
Did she pay you in October?
No.
Did she pay you in November?
Nope, she never paid any rent.
Just a second. Didn't pay you in October, didn't pay you in November. When did she move out?
She moved out January 8th.
Did she pay you in December?
Nope.
And she was just your tenant?
Yes.
No romance, no nothing like that?
She tried to lure me into a relationship, but...
But you resisted?
Right.
Fine. I just want to know, this is just rent?
Yes.
And she's staying in her room and you got your room?
Well, actually, she wouldn't leave me alone. She was like a tail, I guess.
No, Mr. Lowen, listen to me, sir. I have to find out if this is a pure tenancy relationship or if something happened, because that's part of her defense. So she did not only stay in her room, but sometimes you shared a room.
Right.
Okay. When did you start sharing a room?
Well, she didn't have a bed, so I had an extra bed, and she stayed on that for a while, and then she jumped in my bed.
When did you start sharing a room, sir?
We started sharing October 4th.
Okay. Now, you want to tell me about these loans that you claim, sir?
She came up to me at work and asked to borrow $60. And and my roommate Angie went out and got cats. It was a surprise, so I gave her the money. She comes home with the cat.
When?
I'm not sure on the exact date.
What else?
And then I gave her. She asked.
Stop playing with the cards.
Sorry. She asked. I borrowed a couple $100 to her in cash.
When?
I'm not sure.
For what?
Miscellaneous stuff. I'm not even sure what it was for.
Before or after she was sharing your room on October 4th?
After.
What else?
And then I gave her. She went on house arrest for a few weeks, and I paid for all the house arrest.
What was she on house arrest for?
That I'm not exactly sure. She was. I wouldn't call her an honest person. So.
What else?
She wanted to borrow a couple $100 to go Christmas shopping for her 3 kids, and I wrote a check to the bank, and I got a receipt and a check saying that I got the $200 from my bank to loan her.
Oh, this better pick up, Mr. Lowen. Let's go.
And then I also gave her $30 for she needed to get diapers for her kids, and then I also she ordered Chinese food one day at work, and I went out and picked up the Chinese food, and then I paid for it, and of course she never paid me back for it. And then on November 1st, she cleaned out cleaned out her room, and I had to pay $6 extra for garbage. And then when she finally moved out, I had to pay another $4 to get rid of some more stuff.
Judge Judy, am I allowed to step in here for a minute?
No.
She,
Let me stop you, Mr. Lowen, because I'm really getting very bored. And if I'm bored, Bert is bored. With your $6 and your $4 and your $20 and your 23 bucks. From October the 4th until she left in January, did she share your room?
yes. Well, not the whole time.
Half the time?
About that, yeah.
Forget it. Can you say these words? No, I'm not interested. Could you repeat those words to me?
Yeah, no, I'm not interested.
No, I'm not interested.
I'd like to call my witness. She can verify that she would not leave me alone. I asked her several
Mr.
times to
Lowen,
leave.
Mr. Lowen, you don't ask her several times to leave. You call the authorities and say, I want this person who's trespassing in my house out of my house. You have no lease with her. She had no right to be there. But you can't call the police to come to your house to evict a trespasser who you're sleeping with. That's a problem. Do you work for a living?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I deliver pizzas for Domino's Pizza.
Okay. If Domino's Pizza calls somebody and says, we have an offer, you get a 12-inch pizza with 9 toppings for $6.99, and somebody doesn't like pizza, you know what they say? No, I'm not interested. But listen to me, Mr. Lowen. You don't eat the pizza and then say, no, I'm not interested. Do you understand my point?
That's a good analogy, yeah.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Would you tell me what happened with the puppy?
I bought the dog for $150. So the next day, she threw a Halloween party, and the dog disappeared.
Jed had taken her to court and sued her for the puppy too.
And later today,
I started crying and I was screaming. I was saying, stop. And he said, shut the F up and get over it.
Listen, Miss Campbell, get over it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jed Lowen says his relationship with roommate Kelly Postumus quickly turned romantic. Now, he claims she owes for unpaid loans, rent, and for the cost of a puppy.
Now, madam,
Yes.
you say that he took stuff out of your storage unit.
Yes.
What was your stuff doing in storage?
It was after I moved out of his house, I placed it all in storage.
Did he have a key to the storage unit?
Actually, yes, when we first got it, he put it in his name. So he's the only person that had a key.
What was in your storage unit?
I had everything, my bed, my crib, my table, my TV, my PS2, my VCR, all my clothes, my kids' stuff.
Mr. Lowen, did you take any of the stuff out of the storage unit that
No,
belongs
Your
to her?
It's a bunch of junk in her storage.
Did
I
you
didn't take
stop paying
anything.
for the storage?
I signed the lease, and I was on it for, I got a month free, and then like a month later, we went and got it arranged so it was in her name.
You went together.
Right.
Now, when you went together, did you check the storage unit?
I didn't even look in there.
You went down to the storage unit with him and had it put in your name?
I met down there and...
Just answer my
No,
question.
not with him.
You met down there?
Yes.
Did you look in the storage unit at that time?
He wouldn't give me the key. He wouldn't let me go in there. He had bought me a car.
Just a sec. If you went and put it in your name and paid for it, then they'll give you another key.
Your Honor, the lock that I originally had on there,
Yeah.
he went and cut it off and put his own lock on. And he had bought me a car. And he told me the car, I had moved to Illinois, and he told me he wasn't going to sign over the storage until he got the car back. So that day, he went down with his mom, got the car, and I have in the signed agreement here saying that once he got the car, he would sign it over, give me the keys, he wouldn't take anything or nothing out of my storage. And the next day, he came over, signed it over, but he didn't give us the keys.
Other than the fact that he had the key, you have no proof that he took anything out of the storage unit. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right, now tell
I
me
have my
about the-
witness, though, that knows everything that was in storage. I have
I don't care.
pictures.
Any proof that he took stuff out of storage? Why didn't you pay him any rent?
I did actually pay him rent when I was working at Domino's. I signed over 2 checks to him. One was for $350 and one was for $400.
The last item on your agenda is this puppy,
Yes.
right? What happened with the puppy?
Well, I wrote a personal check, which I got the check right here. And she was my witness. She lived with me at the time.
Would you tell me what happened with the puppy?
I bought the dog this October 30th for $150. So the next day, she threw a Halloween party.
Who's she?
Kelly.
Yes.
She threw a Halloween party and the dog disappeared.
Where were you?
I was working.
What happened to the puppy?
Actually, somebody took the puppy from the party we had, but he wasn't working. He was there. And Angie, that's sitting over there, it was probably about 3 months ago. She was an ex-roommate too. Jed had taken her to court and sued her for the puppy too. This is the third person.
Were you sued for this puppy?
Not for the puppy, it was for the cat.
Takes all kinds. Mr. Lowen, you have no case. You ate the pizza, sir. You ate the pizza. And madam, you have no case because you can't prove to me that he took anything out of your storage.
Can I show you pictures?
Goodbye. Have a happy life. It's been nice spending the morning with you. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's scandalous, doesn't pay anyone anything.
I got pictures of everything being damaged. My entertainment center is totally scratched up. I mean, just everything that was in there.
I never touched her. I never broke anything. She made it all up, and her junk wasn't worth anything anyways.
Everything was going fine between me and him, and then all of a sudden his parents are like, if you don't choose her or else you're never going to see us again, so that's when he kicked me out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Campbell versus Mason. Step forward, please.
16-year-old Katie Campbell and her mother, Kathy Campbell, are suing Katie's former friend, 17-year-old Tim Mason, and his mother, Tamara Mason. Katie says Tim cut her hair against her will.
Miss Campbell, this is your daughter?
Yes.
And you're suing on her behalf, is that right?
Yes.
And Miss Mason, this is your son?
Yes.
And you're defending this suit on his behalf because you are how old, sir?
17 years old.
All right, so I'd like all the mothers to sit down, please. I'm going to make short work of this. Miss Campbell, it is your complaint that the defendant assaulted you by cutting your hair off.
Yes.
And you want him to pay all sorts of damages because you wanted to be a model and it took you 5 years to grow your hair. And that was your crowning glory and he made a mess of it when he cut it. Is that right?
Correct.
Is this the young lady that you were with when he cut your hair?
Yes.
All right, you step up here. Let's do this very, very fast.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-old Katie Campbell says former friend, 17-year-old Tim Mason, cut her hair against her will. Katie says it's been a serious setback to her modeling career.
You wanted to get your hair done?
Yeah.
She was just going along for the ride.
Right. It was her.
Where
fault.
were you going to go to get your hair done?
He was coming to our house. He was just a friend of hers.
Okay, and he wants to be a hairdresser?
No, not
You
at all.
just want to be...
I don't want nothing to do with hair. They asked me as a favor. I do my hair every once in a while, pull it through a cap, and they asked me to come over to do it out of a favor.
What were you going to do for this young lady?
Fix Katie's mess up of her hair dye.
Color or a cut?
Color.
Color. So he was going to color you. Now, why would you let him color your hair?
He was a friend of hers.
Friend of whose?
My sister's. Mine.
Now, did he color your hair?
Yes, he did.
Good. And then he cut your sister's hair.
Right.
Tell me how that happened.
Well, he cut my sister's hair. I mean, he colored my sister's hair, and then he pulled me into the bathroom, and he had.
How did he pull you? You're bigger than he is.
Well, he said, "Come into the bathroom," and I said, "Okay, what are we doing?" And he's like, "Well, I'm going to feather your hair." And I said, "What does that mean?" And he pulled out like a comb that he had in his own bag, and he said, "I'm going to feather it." And I said, "Well, I don't know what that means. You're not cutting my hair if that's what you mean." And he said, "No, I'm not cutting your hair." And he repeatedly said he was not cutting my hair. And I said, "Okay, then what do you mean by feather it?" And he said, "Just trust me." So he sat me down in the chair, and he took like a tiny little bit off the ends. And I said, "Well, that's cutting my hair." And he said, "No, I'm just going to take the dead ends off so so it'll grow faster." And I was like, "Well, I don't know." So he took all my hair into the back, kind of like a ponytail, and he took the comb and he just hit it like really hard right in the middle, and like in a matter of seconds, it was all gone. And so then I started.
Bye-bye. It's all gone.
And so I started crying and I was screaming. I was saying, stop. And
stop. And then he finished it up. All right. Yeah. Give me your version.
I came over. Katie picked me up, met me at a specific location to go to a supply store to get bleach for her hair and a couple of supplies. I asked Katie, "Okay, are we going to do your hair?" She said, "Okay, we'll buy an extra kit for mine, just in case I like Shelly's hair, how it turns out." So she bought all the products. We bought a kit for her. I brought this comb, and I says, "Okay, if you wanted to do your hair, feather it, whatever, this is what I got." This is a feathering, texturizing comb. It is used to texturize and feather hair. It does not use to chop off big amounts of hair.
So would you just tell me how come you cut her hair? Tell me what happened.
She asked me to cut her hair.
And where did she ask you to cut her hair?
At her sister's apartment, in the bathroom.
Where? In the bathroom?
Yes.
How did she get into the bathroom?
We walked into the bathroom.
Both of you walked in. You didn't
We
pick her
all-
up. You didn't pick her up and carry her there,
No.
did you?
No.
No.
Willingly.
Huh?
We all willingly went to the bathroom, had, you know, she had Kool-Aid, we were all having a good time. I was playing with
Listen,
her
Miss
son.
Campbell, get over it. Get over it. You were playing around with your sister. She was letting some unprofessional teenager do stuff on her hair. Whether you let him, whether he was acting like an idiot or not, you have choices. Your choice is, you don't go to the bathroom, you don't sit down, you don't say, I don't understand what feathering is. What's feathering? Is it going to cut my hair? You say, don't touch my hair, it's my crowning glory.
She did. I did.
Then you leave.
I tried,
She tried
and he pushed me
her
back down. And he hit my arm down too when I was trying to stop him.
He
and he
tried to push
said,
his arm away.
"Shut the f up and get over it. You know, it's done and done." And
But it was already done.
yeah,
already
when
done.
he was doing it, and then he's like, "I need to fix it," and you know, this is my career. I've been growing it out, and you know.
So, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?
I don't
You all
know.
put yourself in this situation. The three teenagers put themselves in this situation. He certainly doesn't have any money to pay you. Why should his mother have to deal with that? I want to tell you something. If you're not a professional hairdresser, if you're not licensed, you're not supposed to be working on anybody. Your only redeeming trait right now is that you are 17 and you are not of age where you could really lose the ability to practice this kind of career permanently. You understand that? Mm-hmm. I mean, is this what you want to do as a profession?
I was doing it for favor. I don't want nothing to do
Listen.
with hair. Nothing.
So that I don't understand why you would even
I was
take
doing a
somebody
favor.
else's head.
They didn't have the money to get it done. She says, "Oh, I saw, you know, your friends."
Mr. Mason, listen to me very carefully. If you
I don't
don't
want
know
nothing to do
anything
with hair,
about
that's it.
hair, if you don't profess to know anything about hair, and don't indicate that you know anything about hair, why wouldn't Shelley have her sister do the same thing on her hair that you did if you know nothing about hair? If you don't profess to know anything about hair. Do you understand?
I understand.
It doesn't make any sense unless you suggest that one of them likes you, one of them has a crush on you.
Katie asked me to homecoming.
Did she?
Yes.
When?
In the beginning of the fall, and I wasn't able to make it.
Is that right?
Your Honor, he's gay, and he said that he,
I'm
he
gay?
said he would go as a friend. Yes, he said he would go as a friend because she didn't have a date, and she didn't want to miss the only dance because she's doing internet
So
school.
did you go together?
No, he ditched me for it. He didn't show up.
Even more reason not to invite him over to your home.
Right. Well, he apologized
To
and
take
everything, and he
care
had a message
of
on
things
there. Right.
that he has no business taken care of, which means he
Right.
lets somebody who has absolutely no training do anything
Right.
to you, because aside from everything else, you could get hurt. Not just your hair, which grows back. You know, whether it takes 6 months or a year, your hair is going to grow back.
Right.
What other thing? You're using bleach on your head, you're using caustic materials, you're letting some schlemiel over you who has no talent take care of you. Very foolish. Your case is dismissed. That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's like, well, I'm a professional hairdresser. Just kept chopping it off. It was gone in a matter of like less than 2 minutes. All of her hair was chopped off.
Katie's, you know, she's got a rough life. She's a high school dropout. She lives with her sister in a small apartment with a child, and her mom shoots up drugs.
He chopped my hair off a couple weeks before I was going to go get my portfolio done, and now I can't do that.
With that kind of attitude and her look, she will never make it as a model or actor, even with the hair that she had before me cutting it.
Filmmaker Cassie Zelaric and her daughter, 23-year-old student Adina Heyer, are suing their neighbor, 22-year-old groundskeeper Andrew Southards, for the balance due on a car and for filing false charges against Adina.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 110 on the calendar in the matter of Zelaric Heyer versus Southards. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Larrick, it is your claim that you sold a car to the defendant and he refuses to pay what he owes on the car. And the second part of your claim is that he had an altercation with your daughter and he made false charges of assault against her. You're Miss Heyer?
Yes.
How old are you?
23.
And you want to be compensated for these false charges. Mr. Southards says that the car was a piece of junk and the charges were true. So, Mr. Southards, you bought this car?
I made a $25 payment on this car.
Let's start with the premise, sir,
Okay.
that I'm older than you are, and
Okay.
I know more.
Right.
So don't dance around with words.
Okay.
You bought a car,
Correct.
and after you bought the car, you made one payment.
Correct.
Now we're talking, Mr. Southards. When did you buy the car, sir?
12502 is when I put in my name.
Fine. And you gave her how much money?
Nothing.
What was the agreed purchase price?
$400.
And you knew Mrs. Alaric before you bought the car?
That's correct.
How long had you known her?
Approximately maybe 2 years.
Is this the first car you ever purchased?
No, ma'am.
How many cars have you purchased before?
I'd say about 3.
What were the terms of the payment that you were supposed to make to Mrs. Alaric?
I would give her $25 a month until I received my income tax.
And then you would pay her the balance.
Correct.
Good. You see how easy this is going to be?
Yeah.
You didn't expect it to be so easy, did you?
No.
Now, you said you made one $25 payment?
That's correct.
When did you make the $25 payment?
I'm not sure exact date.
When did he make the payment? You see, I knew you were going to get a turn.
He made that payment February 21st.
Now, when you got the title to the car, Mr. Southards, did you also take possession of the car?
Well, I had possession of the car beforehand. Ms.
You did?
Correct. Ms. Zalorek was not pressed for the money, as she had told me. She just wanted the car off her insurance and off the street.
Try not to volunteer any answers. It makes my job much easier. When did you take possession of the car?
In January.
Before you got the title?
Correct.
And you were doing some work on the car?
Correct.
Was the car running or not running when you purchased it?
It wasn't running.
So you had to do some work to put it in a running state?
Correct.
So it wasn't a surprise to you if the car could not be driven, that work had to be done on the car?
Correct.
Or this is like shooting fish in a barrel.
Take your time.
January 25th, then, not only did you have the car, but you had the title. You made a payment February 21st. Now, sir, I assume that you have received your income tax refund back. Is that right?
That's correct.
Why didn't you pay her the money?
Because the car was a lemon, and she had lied to me about nothing being majorly wrong with the car, when in fact it had a blown head gasket. And the muffler on the car, you could only get through the manufacturer, and that would cost $800.
How many weeks did you have this car, sir, before you got the title?
Maybe 3?
Well, in the 3 weeks' time that you had the car, sir, before you got the title, did you know it needed a muffler?
At that time, no, until I got it on the road to get inspected.
So you had the car, you were working on the car, you put it in a condition where it would run, go from here to here.
Correct.
But you couldn't tell it needed a muffler. What? Either way, it doesn't look good for you, sir. Either answer. So why don't you just tell me the truth? Let's make it easy for each other.
No, ma'am.
No what?
I didn't think it needed a muffler.
Well, if you didn't think it needed a muffler, and you're a guy who's bought 3 used cars and was fixing them up yourself, what makes you think this lady, who probably the only thing she knows about cars is putting a key in an ignition, turning it on, and maybe turning on a radio station, what would make you think she knew it was a lemon?
I talked to her husband.
Her! You bought it from her.
Okay. I spoke to her and her husband, which was familiar with the car. They had problems with it before.
They had problems. It wasn't running, sir. What do you mean they had problems with it before? It wasn't running. You couldn't take it from point A to point B when you took it off their hands. Did you have it towed?
No, I pushed it.
You pushed it.
We're neighbors.
That's not the usual way you get a car from point A to point B, by pushing it. That would lead a reasonably intelligent person or a very smart fool to the conclusion that there was something majorly wrong with the car.
There wasn't anything majorly wrong as far as starting it. And Mr. Zalorek, when they had parked the car, which had been sitting there for about a year on the street, had told me that when they parked it, it was running.
When you bought it for $400, and we're not talking $4,000 or $40,000, when you bought it for $400, it wasn't running. And what year car was this?
82.
So the car is 20 years old.
Right.
You've bought 3 used cars before. The car isn't running. You have to push it from one place to another in order to work on it. You had it for 3 weeks. You played with this, you played with that, you put money into it, whatever, you finally got it running. She gave you the tags, and you went to have it registered?
Correct.
In order to have it registered, did you have to have it inspected?
Yes.
Did it pass inspection?
No, it didn't.
Oh. Is that when you decided not to pay her any more money?
That's not correct. No.
Well, when did you decide not to pay her any more money?
When I found out all the problems, you know, that came out of this car wasn't worth putting the money into.
Now, Mr. Southards, pay careful attention to me.
Okay.
How old are you?
I'm 22.
The plaintiff says, take the car, work on it. Don't give me any money. See if you can get it going. Is that about right?
No, we had a contract.
Okay, I'm going to look at it. You take the car, you take it to a mechanic, and you say, look at this car, tell me whether it's worth it for me to buy it, right? A 20-year-old car. If you didn't do that, that's your fault. Let me see the contract. That's not her fault. Well, this says he's supposed to put down $100. He didn't. No. You gave it to him anyway.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
They come in my house. I tell them to get off my property. I don't want you here. She ends up getting in my face and pushing me. They're tag team partners. They've done it before. This is a family matters.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Cassie Zalaric and her daughter, Adina Heyer, are suing their neighbor, Andrew Southards, for the unpaid balance on a car. Andrew says both ladies are obsessed with him.
Okay. So you owe him $375 for the car. That was the easy part. Now, let's get to the harder part. You claim that he filed false assault charges against you. I want you to tell me how that came about.
On February 25th, he came over to our house and got into an argument with my mother about the car because he didn't want to pay for it because it was a piece of, he said. There were some things that my mother wanted to talk to his girlfriend about, so she proceeded to go down to her house. He followed us up there. He went in before we did. He pushed my mother out the door and slammed the door on her. We asked Heather, his girlfriend, if we could come into her house, and she said yes. She wanted to know what was going on. Andy was very outraged that we had went down there.
What'd you go down there for?
He's been harassing my daughter, trying to date her and all, when he's supposed to be with this girl engaged to her.
What's that your business? What's that your business?
Him harassing my daughter?
No. Him trying to date your daughter.
Well, he was also calling me, asking me if I thought my daughter would date him, and...
That's fine. The reason you went to his girlfriend's house is to make trouble, right? Right?
Right.
Because his girlfriend isn't a police officer. If he's harassing your daughter, what you do is you call the police. If you want to be a troublemaker, you go to his girlfriend's house. All right, but now you're there. You're at the girlfriend's house. Girlfriend invites you in, he slammed the door. Let me hear about these charges that he made against you.
He was screaming and hollering at me and calling me an easy, a skank. He was just very outraged. And the whole problem was because the week before, he was continuously calling me on my cell phone, calling my house, asking me to go out, and I told him no.
Why did you go to his girlfriend's house?
Because my mother went down there and I wanted to make sure that everything was okay.
Your Honor.
I'll get to you in a minute.
Okay.
Now, is this where the alleged assault took place, at the girlfriend's house?
Yes.
Now you can tell me what the assault was, sir.
Okay. This is all out of revenge because I didn't want to mess with their daughter. They're both, I mean, they like me or something.
Get to your girlfriend's house.
Anyway,
I don't know why, sir. Get
this
to
is
the girlfriend.
also
You're
my
at the
house.
girlfriend's.
This is also my house.
Oh, your house, your girlfriend's
right. This
house.
is where I live. Okay.
Good.
They follow me down to my house. They come in my house. I tell them to get off my property. I don't want you here. They're tag team partners. I mean, they've done it before. This is a family matters. Anyway, they come in my house without asking anybody to come in. My girlfriend says, okay, they're here already. They're raising a ruckus. Neighbors are out in the yard. They're cussing, swearing. Yeah, I did call her those names, but if the shoe fits, wear it. I mean, hey, that's how I look at it. But as we get in the house, you know, that's my house. I had to say what I had to say. I told them to leave. You know, my girlfriend said, well, I'll hear the story, then y'all need to leave. They carried it on still. She ends up getting in my face and pushing me over a playpen, which my one-year-old daughter at the time is in. Okay, this is when I decided to call the police.
So she pushed you?
Correct.
What hospital were you taken to when she pushed you?
I wasn't taken to a hospital. The fact is, I almost...
What doctor did you see as a result of your injuries?
No doctor.
What medical treatment did you receive from EMS when they arrived at the scene?
Nothing. As far as assault...
May I see the photographs of your injuries?
No photographs.
What are you laughing at, you idiot? What are you laughing at?
It's a point that there doesn't have to be marks to be assaulted.
Yes, there does, sir.
Okay.
Yes, there does.
Then how
Because an attempted assault means that you intend to cause injury. Why don't you be quiet
Okay.
and pay attention?
Okay.
An assault means that you cause injury. If you touch somebody by way of a battery and you do not cause any injury, that is an attempted assault. So you had no injuries, is that right?
No.
And after you got pushed into the playpen, they left?
No.
They stayed and continued to argue.
Correct. After I asked them to leave continuously.
All right, now let's
I
get...
have statements that have been notarized from a girlfriend.
I don't
and
read
neighbor.
statements
Okay.
notarized, sworn to, in blood.
Well, they couldn't be here to testify, so
Why, are they in the military?
no. I mean,
Okay.
I have a child.
Just answer my question. Okay. Are you married to your girlfriend?
Not at this time. Planning.
And this is a house or an apartment?
An house.
Who lives in the house?
My girlfriend, we have 2 daughters and myself.
2 daughters?
Correct.
How old are the 2 children?
One's 4, and one's a year and 4 months.
Now, is there a lease in the house?
A lease? Yes.
Lease for the house?
Correct.
Whose name is the lease?
It's in her name.
Right. Who pays the rent on the house?
Both of us.
Does your girlfriend receive any state aid for the children? Or for herself?
No.
So she does
Not to
not
my
receive any public assistance or welfare
Not
for the
to my
children?
knowledge.
What?
Not to my
Not to your knowledge?
No.
I don't know.
If
I don't know.
we can start back over.
I want to know if you've been living there for 2 years, sir.
Okay.
Can you explain to me why? Just out of curiosity, and I want you to again understand.
Okay.
You're younger and better looking. I'm older and smarter.
Okay.
Explain to me why the house isn't in both your names. Is not an answer.
Okay. At the time, we were having a lot of disputes, and we didn't know if we were going to be together or not. So I was not trying to get stuck in a situation where I ended up paying on a house that I might not live in because of our relationship.
You still had children together. Who was supposed
Correct.
to pay for the children?
I take care of my children.
Oh, sure you do.
I do.
Oh,
That's
right.
my number 1 priority.
Number 1 priority.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Cassie Zalaric and her daughter, Adina Heyer, are suing their neighbor, Andrew Southards, for the unpaid balance on a car. Andrew says both ladies are obsessed with him.
Okay. Listen, what happened as a result of these baloney assault charges that he filed?
I missed several of my classes in school.
Big deal. You had no reason to go there.
I was.
You had no reason to go there.
Yeah.
You had no reason to go to his house, whether it's his house or his girlfriend's house.
Yes.
Whether they're playing hanky-panky with the government or not, who knows? You and your mother had no reason to go to the house, and when he told you to leave, you should have left. And whether you were charged with trespass or you're charged with an assault or an attempted assault, whatever, you weren't convicted of anything. So your claim for false arrest is dismissed. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
But you're entitled to your car money back, $375. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't want nothing to do with them, and they're obsessed with me.
There's no way I would ever want to be with somebody like him.
Phone calls from the mother and the daughter, how they want to get out with me, and, you know.
That's outrageous.
One time I was taking a shower, and the mom called and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm taking a shower." She said, "Well, can I come over and help you?"
I just don't know where he's coming up with those.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Stavitsky versus Pickett. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Karen Stavitsky is suing her best friend's estranged husband, technician Tim Pickett, for an unpaid loan for an engagement ring.
Miss Stavitsky, the defendant became engaged and then married your best friend.
That's correct.
Is that your best friend?
Yes.
So you and the defendant were married at some point, or still are married, but in the process of divorcing.
Correct.
Is that right, sir?
Yes.
When did you become engaged, sir?
December 21st, I believe it was.
Of what year?
1999.
And you wanted to buy your fiancé an engagement ring,
Yes, Your Honor.
but you didn't have enough money, so that the plaintiff lent you some money.
Yes.
How much money did she lend you?
$1,678.95.
Is that the total amount of the ring that was purchased?
Yes.
Tell me about the conversation that you had with her with regard to her making this loan to you.
Well, we had come to an agreement that I would pay her $100 a month, until the ring was paid off.
She was very nice.
Yes.
Well, the lawsuit is all about this. They got married. When did you get married?
June 17th of 2000.
And you were making payments on the ring.
Yes.
You still owe some money on the ring.
Yes.
And you say, I'm not paying for it anymore. Right?
Correct.
Get it from her. That's your position.
Yes, Your Honor.
Explain to me how that works.
Not long after the marriage, we were having financial difficulty, and Karen was aware of this, and we had talked, and she agreed that what I could pay her as often as I could, I would. Since the divorce was filed, I haven't been able to make any payments because of the payments that I'm making as far as covering bills and child support, and now Karen has filed suit against me for the outcoming of the ring.
Well, why should she be out the money?
Well, she shouldn't be out the money, Your Honor, but the cause of the divorce, I mean, my children were verbally assaulted, and I'm sorry, I don't stand for that type of treatment to children, so I had to leave the home.
Well, your wife's not the plaintiff in this case. She's the plaintiff. She was a nice person. She lent you money so that you could buy a ring because you were in love with this girl. You wanted to give her a ring. You said, I don't have the money. Lend it to me.
Yes, Your Honor.
She lent it to you.
Right.
And now you're in your answer. You say, I don't have the marriage. I don't have the ring. I don't get to look at the ring.
Well,
and therefore, I don't have to pay for the ring. Go ahead.
Your Honor, I've requested that the ring be given back or to be sold to pay off the loan on the ring.
I know that's what you requested, but why do you think that you're entitled to that?
As far as the wedding ring to me, Your Honor, it represents...
Engagement ring, not wedding ring.
Well, it's an engagement wedding ring set.
Okay.
Is honor, trust, which was broken in the marriage.
By her?
No. That's why I requested the ring back, so it could be sold to pay...
You don't get
Karen
it
the
back.
money.
You don't get an engagement ring back once you've been married. You get an engagement ring back if you're not married. An engagement ring is given in contemplation of getting married. It has always been my position that if the engagement is broken, whosever fault that is, the ring goes back to the person who gave the ring because there's no contract. But once you get married, what you're suggesting is all those people who get divorced, the ex-husbands get back the engagement ring, whether they're married for a year or 2 years or 25 years or 30 years or 50 years, they get back the engagement ring. Is that your position?
Yes.
Wrong! How much does he owe you on the ring?
$978.95.
Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I have to honor what the judge decided.
Well, I'm just glad to get my money.
Make my life miserable, I guess.
I'm not making his life miserable.
It's been a rough time on me.
I had nothing to do with his marriage breaking up.
I still think that the ring should have been returned to pay off the debt.
I think he owes her the money, and I think it's ridiculous that he brought our marriage into the whole matter.
Make sure you know the person you're getting married to.
I bought his ring, and I paid for it myself. I think he should pay for it himself.
Factory production supervisor Vincent Macklin is suing 23-year-old construction worker Joshua Nave for biting off part of his ear. Joshua says Vincent pulled a gun, and he did what he had to do.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 303 on the calendar in the matter of Macklin versus Nave. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
Mr. Macklin, it is your claim that the defendant bit off your ear, or a good piece of it,
Yes,
during the course of an assault.
correct.
The defendant says he was defending not only himself, but really his sister when this incident took place. Is that right?
Yes.
So let me try to put this into context as I understand your complaint. Mr. Macklin, you were having a get-together, a party at your house with some friends and acquaintances. Among the people that were there, according to what you tell me in your complaint, was the defendant's sister.
Correct.
Someone who you knew casually. So far, am I correct?
Correct.
Is this the sister?
Yes, it is.
At some point during the evening, according to you, this gentleman appeared at your door. You asked him what he wanted. He said who he was, and he said, I'm here to pick up my sister. And you told him to get out.
Correct.
And sometime later, this altercation took place.
Yes.
You also tell me in your complaint, sir, that you had noticed some shenanigans going on with some men going into the bathroom with the defendant's sister. You
Yes.
didn't know what was going on in there, but I assume that you thought it was something of a sexual nature. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, I am assuming that you saw that before he came to pick his sister up.
Yes.
Why did you close the door in his face when he came to pick up his sister?
Because he was demanding some money.
Well, tell me about that, sir.
His sister is a dancer. a stripper. So he was demanding money. She claims I promised her some money to come strip at my party.
Oh, well, you didn't put that in your complaint, sir. So there's a whole other piece to the story that neither of you put in your papers. Is she a dancer?
Not now, she is not.
Was she then?
I believe so, yes.
What do you mean you believe so?
I don't know everything she does.
What prompted you, sir, to go to the house to pick up your sister?
I was called. I was at a bar. I was called. She had been at a bar with him. I was invited to his house to an after party.
You said you were at a bar and you got a call.
Of
Who
an
did you
after
get
party.
a call from?
My sister.
And what did your sister say to you when she called you?
Her friend was having an after party, wanted to know if I wanted to come there.
So you didn't speak to him, you spoke to your sister.
No, I spoke to him. He answered the door, let me in.
No, no, no. Before you
Yeah.
got there, listen to me very carefully. And if you don't tell me the truth about everything, you see, you're going to be tripping over your tie that you're not wearing. So I just want you to pay careful attention to me. When you got to the house, you hadn't spoken to him. You spoke to your sister who said, come over to this after party.
Yes, ma'am.
So you weren't going there to pick up your sister. You were going there because you had been invited to a party.
Yes.
Now, you said that when you got there, you could tell she was upset about something. When did you see her? When he opened the door?
Yeah.
And what made you think she was upset about something?
I could just tell. It's my sister, I can tell.
So he closed the door.
No, he let me in.
Oh, he did?
Yes, I had a big stack of CDs. I came in, had drinks, was there for probably an hour or so. I had CDs, was playing music, having a good old time for a while.
And then what happened?
Him and his friends wanted to start acting crazy, try to jump me, threw me through a coffee table.
Why do you think they did that after an hour?
I have no idea. I don't know them.
Just a second. Did he come into the house, Mr. Macklin?
Yes, he did.
All right. So you closed the door, told him to leave, but when did he come back?
It started with, I had this after party, I had friends. He was not invited to my house. His sister was. He barged into my house and assaulted me. He didn't get thrown through a coffee table. He threw one of my friends through a coffee table.
Just a minute. I thought you said you closed the door and told him to leave.
That's after he demanded money. He demanded money because he said...
So he was in the house already?
Yes.
Can I say something?
Just a second. Tell me what he said when he demanded money.
He says, you owe my sister $100. I said, this is my house, you can leave. Get out.
And what happened?
He left.
And then what happened?
Well, I was in my room looking on the computer with my witness, Janet, and all of a sudden I heard a loud crash. I'm like, what the heck's going on? Next thing you know, him and a bunch of his buddies are in my bedroom beating me up. You know, they come crashing through with a bunch of his buddies. They were beating me up.
Crashing through where?
They crashed through my bedroom. I was in my bedroom. You know, I was in my bedroom with her on the computer. And all of a sudden, all these guys just come rushing in.
You mean you're having a party with somebody who may or may not have been a dancer, and you got a whole bunch of people there having a good time, dancing, drinking, having fun, and you're inside on your computer in your bedroom?
Correct. Yes, we were in my bedroom on the internet, yes. So, you know, I didn't know what the heck was going on. I'd never seen this guy before in my life. Never seen him before in my life. So I picked up a gun. They were like, he's got a gun, he's got a gun. So they went running outside. So I ran outside, and as they was running, they were crashing my house. I walked out my living room. It was just a shambles, you know. So I walked outside, went into the courtroom, down the stairs to get a license plate number, and all of a sudden, me and him got into a confrontation.
And what happens when you got into a confrontation?
We got into a confrontation. We started fighting. We went down to the ground, and we were rolling around.
And that's when you got your ear bitten?
Correct.
Okay. And where was the gun at that time?
Oh, it was in the house. I mean, it didn't even have a clip in it or anything like that.
I don't care whether it had a clip or not. You're telling me that you put the gun back inside when you went outside?
Oh, yes. I mean,
oh, yes. Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead. Now, let me hear you.
We was there partying and got in a big fight. I got through a coffee table.
What did you get into a fight about?
I don't really even know. They was all mad at her or something. I don't even know. I don't like to get involved in her affairs. But I was just there. I was just there to have a good time, party. The bars were closed, so I stopped by, you know, to have a couple drinks. It was still a little early. Well, I get through a coffee table. I was jumped up. I had a whole bunch of CDs, a book that holds about 100 CDs that I had brought with me to play some music. I was grabbing that. While I was grabbing that, he was grabbing his gun from in between the mattresses. I take off running. I'm jumping down flights of stairs. I'm not even running down the stairs. I'm jumping down them. I lose, you know, about 15 CDs. I'm trying to shove them back in the book. At this time, she yells, gun. So I thought he was coming at me with the gun. I took off running, ran around the building which I was parked right in the front. I was so, drunk and scared. I ran around the building. When I ran back, he met me. He chased me outside. I don't know if he had the gun or not. It was dark. He came up to me and goes, "I have no problem with you," and hit me. When he did that, I had to do what I had to do. And I don't know what made me think to bite his ear off. All I knew is he had a gun.
I did not chase him with a gun. It was in my house. These guys, he came with a bunch of
chased
buddies.
me outside, though.
Just a second. Step up. Tell me your first name.
Jenny.
What were you doing there, Jenny?
I just went there to just go chill after party.
After what party?
It was an after-bar party.
What were you doing in the bathroom with these guys?
I was in no bathroom with no guys. I was standing in the kitchen when my brother got there.
What do you do professionally?
Right now, I stay home with my child.
Okay. Before you stayed home with your child, did you do any professional dancing?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He was drunk. You were drunk. I have no idea about her. That's what happens when you get drunk. What do you want from me?
And later today.
How much was the ring?
$2,700, $2,500.
I'm trying to resolve this, Mr. Lupo. I don't want you to think that this is an interview for The Sopranos. Do you understand?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Vincent Macklin says Joshua Nave crashed his party, started a fight, and bit off part of his ear.
Go ahead.
Can I show you this? It says right here, it's a police report where he says the victim stated, which is him, that he was very drunk. And the incident would not have happened if he wasn't so drunk.
So were you.
No, I was not that drunk.
You just a second. You just told me.
I said I had been drinking.
No. That's not what you said.
Okay.
That's not what you said. You said you ran outside. You ran the wrong way because you were drunk and
I was
scared.
Scared, yeah.
No. You said drunk and scared is what you said. He was drunk. You were drunk. I have no idea about her. That's what happens when you get drunk. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? That's what happens when you have a wild drinking party at your house.
But I was at my house.
I don't care if you were in your house.
He came to my house with his buddies and jumped me.
No.
He's not saying that his buddies were there.
Listen to me. You let him into your house. You may not have liked what happened once he was there. I don't know what was going on. Everybody was drinking, brawling. Everybody was, who knows what they were doing in the bathroom, in the kitchen.
Party.
Listen to me, sir. You let him into your house. You had too much to drink. He had too much to drink. You picked up a gun, licensed, I'm sure. Is that right?
Yes, the police officers have all this on record.
Good. He takes off. You take off after him. He doesn't know whether you still have the gun. Confront each other according to you. And the fight was on.
He's not telling a vital part. He had a bunch of buddies with him. He brought a whole gang of guys that started ruining my house. He didn't get thrown through. He threw my buddy through a table.
You just told me you ran out after him to get a license plate.
Because
That's what you told me.
Yes.
And you had already, in your bedroom, picked up a gun. He was fleeing. You had not been injured up until that point. Is that correct?
The gun never left the house. He brought a gang of people into my house. If someone comes to your house and invades your house...
Mr. Macklin, call the police.
I couldn't. They were beating me up. They were beating me up, and they threw a friend of mine through a glass coffee table.
Listen, Mr. Macklin, I wasn't born yesterday, sir. You just told me 2 seconds ago that you were inside with this young lady in your bedroom playing on the computer,
Correct.
on the internet.
Correct.
In the same moment that you were playing on the computer on the internet, you go into your bedroom, you call the police, and you say, a group of people have just invaded my house.
That's not the way it happened. He came crashing through the bedroom. He came through with his buddies and started beating me up.
You're going to have an answer for everything. You're not going to have an answer for me. If you allow a drunken brawl to get going in your house, and then later you have a fight with him, and you get the worst of the fight because he bites you during the course of the fight, what do you want from me?
That's not what happened.
Goodbye. The case is dismissed. Next time, make sure that you don't invite people who you don't know to your house.
Parties are excused, man. Step out.
I've suffered. I've half my ear bitten off.
I don't feel it's right that I bit his ear off, but I don't feel it's right that they can jump me and pull a gun on me.
I have doctor's bill. I have cosmetic surgery that needs to be done.
I was scared. I had to do what I had to do.
You know, I just need to be careful on who I invite over my house from now on.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hastava versus Lupo. Step forward, please.
21-year-old accountant Nicole Hastava is suing her ex-fiancé, 26-year-old mechanic Christopher Lupo, for his share of a wedding that never happened.
Mrs. Darby, you and the defendant have been engaged to be married. And according to your complaint, you broke the engagement for whatever reason, and you had an agreement with the defendant that you were each going to contribute to the wedding.
Correct.
You put down certain deposits on things for the wedding, and when the engagement was broken, the defendant refused to pay you half of the deposits, which was your agreement. In addition, you purchased a wedding dress that you claimed that you stored or left at the defendant's mother's home that he refuses to return to you. Mr. Lupo says that you did have an agreement that you were going to share the costs of the wedding, correct?
Yes, correct.
But when you broke the engagement, you kept everything. I don't know what everything is. And in addition, you kept the engagement ring.
Correct.
So he's not paying for anything, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so you really want the engagement ring back, right?
Yeah. Yes.
You're a quick learner. Did you want your dog?
No, she could keep it. Just the point, like, if I wanted to take it back, she wouldn't have gave it to me anyway, but, you know, she can keep it.
Mr. Lupo, do you want your dog? The answer is no, she could keep the dog.
She could keep the dog.
But you want your personal items back?
Yes.
And the engagement ring?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have his personal items? It's not an answer,
I
madam.
do have some of his clothes at the house.
Well, tell me, what do you have?
Maybe some sweatpants. I mean, it's
Do you
really nothing
have a jacket?
I didn't see the leather jacket. I did look for it, and I didn't find it.
Now, where's the engagement ring?
I have the engagement ring. I told him I'll give it back to him. I have no problem giving it back to him as long as I get the money for from the deposits. But I did pay $300 towards the engagement ring, and I have that also.
Did she pay some money towards the engagement ring, Mr. Lupo?
Yes, she did.
How much was the ring?
$2,700, $2,500.
I'm trying to resolve this, Mr. Lupo, and I don't want you to. I don't want you to think that this is an interview for The Sopranos. Do you understand? It is not. It is not. So we're going to try to behave like this is a courtroom, and this is a serious piece of business.
She has the receipts.
Mr. Lupo, do you understand what I'm saying to you, sir?
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do, because I'm sure that you don't talk the way you're talking to me if you go and you're talking to a priest. Do you understand? You understand? You try to act respectfully, which is exactly what I expect. I expect you to act as if you would talk. Strike that. I expect you to talk as if you were talking to a doctor who just told you that he thought you had a terminal illness. Okay? Does that settle it down for you?
Yes.
Good. Perfect. Now, how much was the engagement ring, sir?
It was around $2,700.
Is that correct?
I wasn't there when he bought it.
Fine. Is it a nice ring? Do you have it with you?
I don't have it with me, no.
Fine. $2,700. And she gave you $300 towards the ring?
Yeah, because she wanted to change the diamond.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Yes. Next time you get engaged, sir, don't let your fiancé give you anything towards the ring. It's tacky, especially when you're spending so much for the ring.
Well, I thought she would have been happy with the diamond I gave her, but she wanted to change it. So.
That should have been something that gave you a ding-a-ling, ding-a-ling, ding-a-ling. Okay. So far we're down to $2,400 that the ring was worth. Now, how much were the deposits that you put down?
Half of it is $2,100.
Okay, $2,100.
$2,110.
And does your mother have her wedding dress?
I'm not sure. I'll be honest with you, I don't know where it is.
I'm sure she has it. If that's where you put the wedding dress, right, you gave it to his mother.
I left it at his house because I figured it would be better kept there.
So you have to get the wedding dress back. Do you understand? You're going to get the engagement ring back because we're going to resolve this very fast because clearly you two folks are not in love anymore, right? Well, at least if you are still in love, you're going to start at ground zero so that you can start building on this lovely relationship again if you so choose. Once you get back the engagement ring, you don't want to give it to anybody else, so you're going to sell it. Then you'll have some money to give her back for the deposits. Is that reasonable?
That's reasonable.
There you go. Look how happy we are. Now, you're going to look very, very hard for his personal property. You have some sweaters that belong to him. He's looking for his jacket. He wants his jacket back in addition to the engagement ring. Clear?
Yes.
Now, you are going to get your $2,100 24 hours after he gets his clothes and his engagement ring. Do you understand?
Yes.
You're going to give her the $2,100 as soon as
I get my stuff, she can have it. No problem.
And you're going to get your stuff 5 days from today. 6 days from today, she gets her $2,100.
Sounds good.
Happy?
Yes.
Happy?
Can I just ask one question, Your Honor?
Yes.
What about the $300 that was put towards the ring? I didn't include that with the...
No, just a second.
Oh, okay.
You're absolutely right, because he's getting it back. So we have to add that on to the $2,100.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Sounds fair.
By the way, just for my own interest, why did you put $300 towards the ring? Is it true you wanted a different stone?
We changed the diamond.
You wanted a different diamond. Not we changed the diamond. He doesn't know anything about diamonds. Trust me, he knows nothing about diamonds.
It looked nice.
It looked nice. It looked nice. You wanted a different diamond,
Yes.
right? And he agreed.
Yes.
Fine. Then you agreed. Nice guy. So, $2,400. What else?
My records, my DJ equipment.
Everything that belongs to him.
I'll give him everything back.
You give
I don't
him
have a
everything
problem
back,
with
because one day after he gets everything back, you
I'll
get your
get my
money.
money. Exactly.
Otherwise, you don't get your money. Right?
Yes.
Right? So now he's going to get everything back. Goodbye. Good luck. Have a happy life.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
As long as she gives my stuff back, I got no problem paying her money.
He wasn't living up to any of the agreements. He would tell her, I'll pay her, and then he wouldn't come through.
Hopefully work things out. I don't know, maybe, you know, in the future.
Well, if he had feelings for me, he wouldn't have cheated on me at his friend's bachelor party.
I guess we were both immature at the time, you know what I mean?
There wasn't any way I could have done it on my own. I needed Judge Judy's help.
23-year-old mother of 6, Simena DeWater, is suing her father, security guard Simon DeWater, and his common-law wife, Debbie DeWater, for repossessing her car. Simon and Debbie are countersuing for an unpaid car loan and a wedding ring set.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please.
This is case number 227 on the calendar in the matter of DeWater versus DeWater. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Water, this is your father.
Yes, it is.
And you are his girlfriend?
Yes.
You needed a car. Your father and his girlfriend helped you out with the finances because you didn't have any money. I think the car was $350. Is that right?
Yes, it was.
And your agreement was that you were supposed to pay them so much per month till the loan was repaid. I think $100 a month. Is that what you agreed to?
No.
What had you agreed to?
We didn't agree on how much exactly.
Okay.
We just said I would pay him back in installments.
All right, that's what you say. In any event, you gave him $100.
Right.
And it is your claim that at some point he called you up and said, I want the rest of the money. You didn't have it. He came and repossessed the car. And you want the money that you put into the car, which was $160, $100 that you had given to him in an installment, and then $60 for a new battery.
Right.
Your father and his girlfriend say you did not live up to your terms of the agreement, so that they were forced to repossess the car. They want money that you still owe them on the car, which is another $250, even though they have the car, and some money for an additional loan that your father says he made you for some wedding rings or something. I don't know. That's about, I'm sure he'll tell me. Mr. Water, when was the car purchased?
It was actually purchased on July 31st.
And when did you make the installment payment to your father?
On the 1st.
1st of August?
Yes.
Is that right?
That's true.
And when did your father call you and say he wanted some more money?
Okay, well, he called me on the 25th. I told him that I would not be
What
able to...
did he say to you?
He asked me if I would be able to give him some money the next day, because the next day I was supposed to be getting paid. And I told him I wouldn't have no money to give him. And I asked him if he would wait an extra week until the 1st, and then I'd give him some more money. And he said, okay. About 45 minutes to an hour later, he calls me back and tells me that Debbie wants me to call her at work. She tells me it's not good enough. So I told her...
What did she say to you, and what did you say to her?
Okay, well, I said, I won't get paid tomorrow. I said, I'll have some more money on the 1st. I said, can you guys wait till the 1st? She said, that's not good enough. They bought the car for me, and I should give them their money back. I said, if you guys can't work something out with me, I said, what we can do is we can sell the car. I said, you can give me my money back, and you can take your money. I didn't hear from them for 2 days. On the 27th, early in the morning, he came and said he was coming to pick up the car and demanded me to give him the keys.
And what happened?
I told him, I asked him, did he have my money? Because I told him he was not taking the car without me having my money. So he comes back around 6 o'clock that evening with the police. And I told the police the same thing, that I don't feel like I should have to give him the car back without me getting my money. So he wrote me a check for $160. As a matter of fact, we had the police exchange the car keys for the check. The police officer told me to keep the original title. He said, just in case anything happens. which was a good thing because when I went to go cash the check at Money Tree that same
They
day,
stopped payment on the check.
They went online and
Okay,
stopped payment.
so that's what this is about, $160. All right, now let's hear your end of the story.
First of all, the agreement between us was that on the first she would give $100, and then 2 weeks after that she would give another $100, and then 2 weeks after that she would give another $100, and then $50 after that. The 25th, when I contacted her, she told me then, she said, I won't have the money until the 10th, not the 1st.
Did she call you at your place of business? Tell me about the conversation as
When
you
she
were
called
calling.
me, I said, Samina, I understand that you don't have your job anymore and you're not able to pay. So what can
She had
you...
lost her job?
Yes.
How did you know that?
She told me. She couldn't pay me.
What did she say?
Well, actually, on the 15th, she couldn't pay us because she said they didn't put her hours in. She wouldn't get paid till the 25th, which was a Sunday. When I talked to her that night at work, she said that she'd lost her job and that she wasn't going to get paid. And she didn't know when she could give me more money. I said, well, you know, maybe we should just take the car back. And she says, well, y'all can come get the car if you want, but I want my $100.
Where is the car now?
I have it up at a friend of mine's house.
You have somebody to buy it?
I did have a person to buy it until she left a message on my answer machine saying that the police officer said if I sold the vehicle that I can be arrested.
Do you have the title?
Yes, ma'am, I do. It's right here.
Oh, good. And it's in your name?
It is my name, and it's a Washington State title.
Good. Mr. Water, did you lose your job?
Actually,
No, you have to.
No,
not actually.
I did not lose my
Listen
job.
to me, because that's very easy. That's just a phone call that I have to make.
Right.
So it's very easy. So I'm going to start again. Were you working at the same place, same number of hours in the beginning of August and in the middle of August?
Yes, I was.
And the end of August?
No, I wasn't.
You either left, quit, or you were fired?
Actually, it was just a work experience. My program was over. What I was doing is I had to take time off for when I had the baby. I have a 4-month-old baby. That was 3 months I had time off, and then I had to finish my work
What
experience.
3 months?
April, May, and June. I had my baby in May.
And July is when you needed a car.
Well, actually, I didn't ask for him to get the car. He offered to get me the car.
What kind of car did you get?
It was an Oldsmobile Cutlass, I believe.
What I want to know from you, sir, is when you wrote her the check for $160, you see, ordinarily, I would say to her, listen, you drove the car for a month. You didn't follow through with your agreement, because I believe she had an agreement that every 2 weeks you were going to get paid, and they had the right to take the car back. And you drove the car for a month. You can't get a rental car for a month. So it cost you $100 for the month. Say goodbye. That's what I would ordinarily say to her. But you gave her a check for $160 and then stopped payment on the check.
Yes, ma'am.
Explain to me why, sir.
Because when we did arrive there, actually...
Police would not give you the car unless you gave her the check.
No, ma'am. I'm the one that actually called the police because I told them that I knew that there would be an altercation. One of the police officers went with me with the paperwork.
Talk to me about this $160.
That's
Why
what
did you give her the check? Just tell me.
Because she started calling me names. In order for the police officers to get on about their business, in order for me to get the vehicle, which is already mine, I agreed. The police officer and I talked about it, and I said, here, I can write her a check, and I will put a stop pay. The reason why...
Oh, no.
The reason why
I don't believe you said that to the police officer.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Let me see a police report that says that.
They did not do a report.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
6, 5, 4, 2, 1, and 4 months.
6 children. Do you receive public assistance?
No, I do not.
Sure you do.
And later today,
the squirrel had relieved himself on my microwave, ate up plants, chewed through a maple syrup bottle. I have pictures of the squirrel.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Simina DeWater says her father, Simon DeWater, and his common-law wife, Debbie DeWater, repossessed her car. Simon says his daughter had it coming.
See, the problem is, she believes she has a claim to a certain part of this car because she had, in fact, invested a certain amount of money in it. She's all wrong. Okay. Listen to me. She's all wrong, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I understand.
However, once you give her a check in order to resolve a dispute, and she accepts it and relinquishes physical custody of that car, relying on the fact that you have reached an agreement, you can't say, now I'm going to stop payment on the check. But you cannot do that. You cannot give her something
she gave up something in reliance on it and then stopped payment on the check. So she's entitled to that $160. Now, quiet, you're entitled to nothing on your claim for the rest of the money she owes you because you have the title to the car and you're going to sell the car. Put your hand down. So far, anything that you're entitled to, you got. Do you understand?
Yes.
I'm telling you, but for the fact he gave you this check, you would be entitled to Zippo, goose egg, nothing.
Right.
Now, let's go over to this loan, alleged loan for wedding rings, because that's the only thing I want to hear about now.
Okay.
Not entitled to any more money for the car. You got the car, keep it, sell it, do whatever you want with it.
Okay. What had happened was she was telling me that she was supposed to be getting married in July. I did offer to buy the rings because they were arguing back and forth. She just wanted a band and he wanted something that had bling bling. So what I did was I went and got them bands with diamonds in it, okay? What I did stipulate before I gave them the rings and they agreed to was that if they did not get married on the date that they said that they would, I wanted the money back for the rings. Then, come that date, she told me they postponed it till the next month because the people from his family wasn't able to come over to where we were. On the date that we went to pick up the car, she got smart. Like I said, she started calling me names. I told her, I said, okay, I want the money for the rings then.
Who were you supposed to marry?
My kids' father.
Your children's father?
Yes.
How many children do you have with this person?
6.
6 children? And how old are they?
6, 5, 4, 2, 1, and 4 months.
And where does this person live?
With me.
Does this person work? Is he employed?
Yes, he does.
Have you gotten married yet?
No, we have not.
Do you receive public assistance?
No, I do not.
Sure you do.
No, I do not. I terminated.
When did you terminate it?
I terminated it last month.
Oh, just last month?
Yes, I did, because I got a full-time job now.
So for 6 years, the guy's living with you, you make 6 babies with him, collect welfare. That's a very good reason not to get married. You get married, all that stops.
No, actually, he's on it. He was on it. Yes,
he was on your budget?
Yes, he is. And he was working the whole time. Since we've been together, he's been the one working.
You have to understand something, Mr. DeWater. Your daughter and the father of her children, you understand, were involved in a little bit of shenanigans with the state and money. How old are you?
23.
23. 23, 6 kids. You know her judgment is 0. You wanted her to get married. You bought the rings. Stupid! Stupid. Don't lend her any more money.
We're not.
Good. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was a refusal to pay. It wasn't saying I didn't have the money and I can't pay you till, you know, a certain date. It was just a refusal to pay.
They offered. I didn't ask them to get it for me. So that's their loss.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Eddington versus Hammond. Step forward, please.
Gas station manager Tracy Eddington is suing her former landlords, Michael Hammond Sr. and his son Michael Jr. for the cost of a motel room and property damage caused by a squirrel.
Miss Eddington, the defendant is your landlord. Who's the landlord?
I am, Your Honor.
And who are you, sir?
I'm the manager of the business. We have apartments throughout town.
It is your claim that because you detected that there was someone else living in your apartment, or something else living in your apartment that wasn't paying rent. You heard the scratching through walls. You didn't know exactly what it was. You called one of these 2 gentlemen. Nothing was done, according to you. And as it turned out, it was a squirrel that eventually found its way into your apartment, caused a great deal of damage. You want to be reimbursed for the damage that this unauthorized tenant did to your kitchen and other parts of your house, as well as the motel stay. How long have you been a tenant of the defendants?
A little over 3 years.
Miss Eddington pay her rent on time?
No complaint with it.
So it's been fine?
It's been fine.
Great. When did you start to hear this little critter in your apartment?
It was March 12th of 2002. I was sitting at my table and I heard something in the kitchen. I thought it was my 2 cats.
Stop playing with paper, I can't hear.
Until they walked past me and the noise still continued. And that's when I got up to see the squirrel run across my feet and back down in the basement.
So the little thing actually went across your feet? What did you do?
I got on the phone and called Mike Jr. and told him that I saw a squirrel in the kitchen. And he told me that they had a boiler out at a different facility and that he would get someone there as soon as he could.
When was as soon as he could?
March 18th, almost a week later. The squirrel came in on Tuesday. That Friday, I came home to plants all over the place, food, clothing. The squirrel had relieved himself on my microwave, ate up plants, chewed through a maple syrup bottle. I have pictures of the squirrel. I have dead and alive pictures of the squirrel.
How'd you get pictures of the thing when it was alive?
Well, I called someone and they told me what to do to try and get him out of the apartment. They said to take peanut butter and put it on bread and leave little trails for him. And he went for the bread, but he went back under the stove each time with his food. So I was able to grab my camera off the table and take a picture of him.
Is this a squirrel in a box?
That's the dead squirrel. I'm not quite sure how he died.
How did he die?
We had a mouse problem, and I put mouse bait down in the basement, and I think it got to him, and he died in my box of clothing.
So before the defendant found time to come back to your apartment, all this damage was done?
Yes. Friday night, I just grabbed my cats and some clothes, and we went to a motel.
How long were you at the motel?
9 days. That following Monday, they did put a trap with crackers in it, and I did go back, and there was never any squirrel, and then my brother finally found the squirrel dead in the box.
When did he find the squirrel?
March 23rd, the last day I was at the motel.
Okay, who wants to talk?
I would, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
The first time we had a phone call, we documented everything, the phone calls, was the 15th, which was on a Friday.
She says she called on March 12th. Did you call on March 12th?
I called the day that the squirrel came into the apartment.
Which was March 12th. How do you know it was March 12th?
I remembered I wrote it down.
Do you remember what day of the week it was?
That was a Tuesday.
Did you call after that Tuesday?
I called every day after that.
Okay, so the first time you documented her phone call, it was March 15th. Is that right?
The first time it was brought to my attention was March 15th, which was a Friday.
Did you speak to him or to somebody else?
I spoke to him.
Maybe you were busy. Go ahead.
I sent a maintenance worker over there with a flashlight to check the apartment, check the basement. He came back with nothing. Tracy called me back later, said she's still hearing sounds. At this point, there wasn't anything seen, it was only sounds. I went back over there personally, went through the basement, went through the apartment, still found nothing. And then on Monday, which was the 18th, Tracy called me in the morning and said the squirrel had gotten in here to eat my plants. That's when I called the exterminator, met him over there on Tuesday. The 19th was the quickest he could be over there, who did set up a live trap. And according to my records, Tracy's brother found the squirrel Thursday morning.
So
we've got conflicting dates, obviously.
Okay. But it is clear that even if she called on the 15th and she said to you that there is some sort of animal, rodent, and it was a squirrel because I've seen it. I've seen it. I saw it. It ran across my feet. She says the 12th, you say the 15th. Clearly, it was before the 18th, which was the date of the damage. That if you had gotten the exterminator out there between the 15th and the 18th, but you have a tenant who's a perfectly good tenant, paid a rent on time, not a pest, who says to you, there's trouble in my apartment. I mean, it's not the kind of trouble that's an emergency trouble because it's not a pipe burst or water is leaking all over the place. It's a squirrel. But when it became an emergency, she had to move out.
For the record, the 15th, when she called me, she was still hearing noises. Didn't actually see the squirrel until the 18th.
I thought you told me you saw the squirrel initially.
I saw the squirrel on the 12th.
Yeah, on the 12th.
Yes.
That's what she said. And I believe she called you on the 12th, and I believe that you were probably involved in a whole bunch of other things. You see, you manage a whole lot of buildings. Is that
That's
right?
correct, yeah.
You got a lot of other things on your plate. She only has one squirrel. She's asking for, as far as I'm concerned, a minimal amount of money. It's just damage to her property, which I see, and reimbursement for motel expenses. She's asking for $581. That seems perfectly reasonable. That's it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $581. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
There's conflicting dates.
It was a danger to me and my cats, and it just wasn't taken seriously.
From the first phone call forward, we wrote the time and dates down.
I felt unsafe.
We were there on time and time.
Make sure all your holes are patched up in your house.
19-year-old student Allison DeGrace and her mother, Barbara DeGrace, are suing Allison's former landlord, contractor Stephen Rossi, for causing her to move out after only 1 day. Allison says Stephen crossed the line.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please.
Your Honor, this is case number 260 on the calendar in the matter of DeGrace versus Rossi. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Grace, you rented a room from the defendant. The tenancy lasted 1 day. You want your money back, and in addition to your money back, you want some punitive damages you claim for invasion of your privacy. Mr. Rossi said you left of your own volition, you broke the terms of your tenancy, and you don't get any money back. Correct?
That is correct.
Okay. What kind of place did you rent to her, Mr. Rossi?
Room inside of a privately owned home.
You're the owner?
Yes.
So you rented her a room in your house with kitchen privileges, I assume?
Correct.
How much did you charge her in rent?
$325.
And what other money did she give you?
First month's additional for utility expenses.
How much did she give you in total?
$575.
Had you advertised for this room?
Yes.
Where?
Buffalo News.
Are you legally able to rent in your home?
Correct.
You are legally able to do that?
Sure.
She signed the lease?
No.
How come?
There was no written contract.
Why not?
Didn't feel the need to.
You have a tenancy, then you have a contract. It says what your rent is, what security deposit, what it's for, that it'll be returned, what you're going to do with the security deposit, put it in an interest-bearing account. I mean, you want to do all these...
There was no mention of any security deposit, Your Honor.
Well, what was the other $250 for, sir?
Money that she chipped in for the utility expenses the first month.
$250 for your utilities?
Correct.
What utilities cost you $250?
There was no mention of any additional security deposit.
Mr. Rossi, had you ever rented a room before?
No.
Never?
No.
Okay. Who advised you legally?
No one.
That's what I figured. Okay. Now, Mr. Grace, what date did you move in?
January 1st.
When had you seen the room?
3-4 days before it.
And you spoke to Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
Who else lives in the home?
His girlfriend.
Just the two of them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How old are you?
19.
Your mother. Sit down. Now, what happened on January 1st when you moved in?
He helped me move my stuff into the apartment, and he was acting very strange.
It was a room.
I'll get to that.
What apartment?
His apartment.
I thought it was a house.
No, it's not.
What is it?
It's an apartment that he is renting.
It's an apartment in a building that he's renting?
No, it's just an apartment, like a house, but he's renting.
From whom?
From his landlord.
Is that true?
It's a privately owned house, Your Honor.
Do you own it?
I don't own the house, no.
That's what I asked you before. Did I ask him that question before?
That's what you asked him.
And what did he say? He said yes.
He said, yeah.
You are a renter.
Yes.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Rossi?
Self-employed contractor.
How long have you been a tenant?
6 years.
In the same place?
Correct.
Did you have permission of your landlord to rent?
Yes.
Show me.
I don't have anything in writing.
Really?
No.
What's your rent?
How much do I pay for rent?
That would be the question, Mr. Rossi.
$470.
Plus what?
Utilities.
So your rent is $470, you're charging her $3 1/4.
Correct.
Go ahead, Mr. Grace. You say he's acting weird. He is weird.
He was not charging me $3 1/4. He was charging me $350.
Okay.
I paid him up front the day before I moved in for $250 for utilities, and the day that I moved in, I paid him $350 for the first month's rent. He refused to give me a receipt saying that I paid him the $350. He said for tax reasons. Then he showed me and my father all these gas bills that he owed. He did not say that he couldn't pay them. He just said that they were too high. And that night, I fell asleep that night. He came in my room. His pit bull first, he didn't tell me he had a pit bull. His pit bull burst into my room and started attacking me, started jumping all over me, biting my arms.
If a pit bull bit your arms, madam, you would know it. Mr. Grace, I don't want you to make up any stories
It was
to
under
embellish.
the covers.
You understand?
Okay, yes.
If a pit bull bites you all over the arms, you would have major scars or some scars.
I was under the covers.
Oh, okay, so his dog came into your room and it scared you.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Then he came in my room smoking pot. He got the dog off of me. And he sat down next to me and he started talking sexually to me. And he...
That's a lie.
No, it's not. He's the liar.
You felt uncomfortable there, is that right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Prior to your moving into his room, where had you been living?
At my father's.
Does your father live with your mother?
No.
How long had you been living with your father?
For about 3 years.
Why did you leave your father's house?
I wanted to become more independent.
Were you working?
No, I was going to school.
Full-time or part-time?
Full-time.
Who was going to be paying your rent?
I was.
If you're a full-time student, how are you going to pay your rent?
I am on SSI.
What's the nature of your disability?
Depression, anxiety.
And you take medication for that?
Yes.
You were going to try to make it on your own?
Yes.
Didn't work out. And the next day, you said, I'm going back home. Now, when you left, where did you go?
I didn't go back home. I called up my mother, and I was crying.
Okay, and so did you go to your mother's house?
Yes.
And you stayed there?
Yes.
Is that where you're living now?
No.
Where are you living now?
I'm living back at my father's.
Okay, good. Everything okay?
At my father's, yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Rossi, aside from the fact that you illegally rented a room in a place where you were a tenant and you have absolutely no proof of the fact that your landlord gave you permission to do that, I'd like you to tell me what were your out-of-pocket expenses for the 24 hours that Mr. Grace lived in your house? Is not an answer, Mr. Rossi.
Out-of-pocket expenses while she was there for 24 hours?
Yes.
There were none.
Perfect. Then if she left after 24 hours, why didn't you return her money to her?
Because I had to spend time to try to gain access to get myself a new tenant. If I was able to
what
have...
kind of nonsense did he just say? What kind of gobbledygook did he just put together?
I'm not catching it.
You're not catching it. You're not catching it.
You are
sure. Mr. Grace.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You don't look like an unintelligent person. A little slimy, but not unintelligent.
And later today...
Tell me what they were.
It was payment for money that I loaned.
That's not what I asked you. That is the conclusion.
The circumstances?
If you don't remember, say I don't remember. Remember that I will test you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 19-year-old Allison DeGrace claims former landlord Stephen Rossi caused her to move out after only 1 day. Allison says during her first night there, Stephen entered her room while she was asleep.
Mr. Rossi, my question was, you illegally rented a room, she moved out, you had absolutely no loss as a result of her moving out. If you were aware of the fact, Mr. Rossi, that when she moved in, that she was on medication, a fact that was evident to me, then why didn't you say, look, this is not working out. She's unhappy. I'm going to give her back her money.
I wasn't aware that she was unhappy, Your Honor.
Listen, she moves all of her things into your house. She comes there with her father?
Correct.
With her father. I mean, if you're an intelligent person, you don't look like an unintelligent person, a little slimy, but not unintelligent. You understand that there's a certain dynamic here going on. This was in what month? January in Buffalo? It gets very cold, but I'm sure your brain thought out enough in Buffalo in January to understand that there's a certain family dynamic going on here. So if it didn't work out and she was unhappy, she was stressed, whatever it was, you say, here's your $600 back. I'm not out any money. It didn't work out, especially since you were doing something that was in violation of your tenancy. You probably fell behind in some bills, and you probably figured you could get somebody to shore up a little bit, and you did, and you got a $600. You managed to pay off the bills you were behind paying off, and you say you can't have your money back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Everything he said was a complete lie.
The girl's on lithium. She's on Prozac. She's only 19 years old.
I'm not on heavy medication.
I think she moved into a place. She moved out the following day. It's her loss.
I'm not crazy.
I think the girl's nuts.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of D'Antuono versus Holdren. Step forward, please.
26-year-old hairstylist Stephanie D'Antuono is suing her ex-boyfriend, personal trainer Thaddeus Holdren, for an unpaid loan to buy a car. Thaddeus says the money didn't become a loan until they broke up.
Mr. D'Antuono, I've read your complaint. You claim a loan to the defendant, who was your live-in boyfriend for a period of time. Is that right?
Yes.
It was a loan for a car?
Correct.
And any other expenses?
Yes, for work that needed to be done on the car.
Mr. Holdren said there was never a loan. His position is that he played the role of house husband.
Yes.
That you have a child that he took care of, and he was a personal trainer. He gave up some time in order to be able to accommodate your schedule. And there was never talk of a loan until the two of you separated. So when did you start to live together?
We began to live together only after I had given him the loan. It was in August.
Tell me about the loan.
Thaddeus approached me about loaning him some money for a car that he wanted to buy. I had the funds to help him out, and we discussed it in detail.
Well, what were the details?
How he had to pay me back. There was no confusion as far
Well,
as...
no, don't tell me there was no confusion. Just tell me what the agreement was. You said it was very specific, so tell me the agreement.
I agreed to loan him the money if he agreed to pay me back in full.
Is that as specific as it went?
Pretty much, yes.
Go ahead.
He agreed to pay me within a certain amount of time.
Well, that's more specific. What was the
Yes.
amount of time?
A couple of months.
Okay.
And when he didn't, he told me he was having some problems and wasn't going to be able to pay me at that certain time. So I was upset, but I agreed to allow him more time if he would give me payments. Whenever he had money, if he could give me some cash or, you know, whatever he was able to do.
So?
So he didn't. He failed to pay me.
When did you move in with him?
He moved in with me.
When did he move in with you?
That was about a year later.
So 1 year later, he's made no payments on this loan, and then you move in together.
Well, he...
Just answer my
I'm sorry.
question.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. And you lived together for a year.
No, we did not. We only lived together for about 2.5 months.
Your Honor, I lived with her longer than that.
He was at my house on a regular basis, but he did not live there.
Fine. When did that start?
Probably around the time that I gave him the loan. You know, he was staying there maybe a couple nights a week.
More than a couple nights, Your Honor.
That's not correct.
It's over 2 years since this loan was made.
Yes.
And over that period, you have not gotten any payments.
He did pay me $150.
When?
In April of 2001.
Is that right, sir?
I don't know if it was 2001, but I paid her $150. But that's not including everything I did for her and her son. You know,
What did you give her $150 for, Mr. Holdren?
Because, I mean, if I'm with her, or living with her, or whatever, I expect to do something, you know. I mean, taking care of her son and taking care of stuff around the house and stuff.
That doesn't answer my question, Mr. Holdren. What was the $150 for?
Just for her.
Well, tell me how that came about, the $150 payment.
She gave me the money and things happened. Hold on.
Mr. Holdren, you're trying to think about the right answer. I don't want you to think about the right answer, sir. I want you to think about the truthful answer. You said to me, I gave her $150 when I asked you what it was for. You did a song and dance. Now I'm asking you the circumstances surrounding you giving her this $150 in March.
Well,
if you say I don't remember what it was for or the surrounding circumstances around it, I will understand that.
Well, I gave her money a couple times, so the $150 is like me giving her money on a regular. I mean, not on a regular, but I gave her money, you know, like any other boyfriend would do. It wasn't like I was giving her $2,000 or you know what I'm saying, like big money, but
Do you remember the circumstances surrounding the $150 payment? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes.
Then tell me what they were.
It was payment for money that I loaned him.
That's not what I asked you. That is the conclusion.
The circumstances?
If you don't remember, say I don't remember. Remember that I will test you. If you don't remember, say it. If you remember, tell me.
I don't remember.
Did he give you any other money during the course of your relationship over the last 2 years?
He paid me $100 after our relationship had ended. This was this past April.
What was the $100 for?
For payment from the loan that I gave him.
Did you give her $100 after you separated?
Yes.
For what?
That was for part of her thinking that I owed her all that money. So $100.
That was
part of me owing her the money.
That was part of her thinking that you owed her the money from the loan?
Right.
Oh, good, that makes it easier. So you did, Mr. Holdren, make a payment to her for this $2,000 loan.
Right.
And you made at least one payment. Is that right?
Right.
And that was made within the past year or so.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to allow you in 30 seconds or less, Mr. Holdren, explain to me why this was not a loan and you don't owe her any money.
Okay, I'll start off with this. We made an agreement when we met. Well, after we met, she has a son. He's 4. Well, he was 4 at the time. And her job is very demanding, and she has different hours every day, like early in the morning sometimes and late in the evening sometimes. And her son goes to school early in the morning. She couldn't take him to school, so I would take him to school, get him up, get him dressed, pick him up from daycare, bring him back with me, and wait till she gets off, and he'd hang out with me, whatever, for the period of time, whatever day it was.
So I'm listening. Keep going.
Yeah. I mean, I did everything. I was like a kindergarten cop with him. This whole thing to me is just like she was pimping me through the whole thing. Like, you know, she's my female pimp.
That's a nasty thing to say.
That's how it was, because I was doing everything, but she still just seemed like I owed her this whole $2,500.
Well, let me ask you this question, Mr. Holdren. How much rent did you pay?
I didn't pay rent at her house.
How much did you contribute on a regular basis for food for the house?
Depending if I went out to eat or...
No, in the house.
Little.
How much did you contribute regularly towards the utilities?
None.
So you were basically living rent-free. You had no expenses.
Your Honor, I have my own apartment, too.
Where is your apartment?
At the time, it was on the other side of town from where she lived at, on the west side.
Which side is nicer? Her side?
Yeah.
Mr. Holdren, anything else you want to tell me, sir?
I just felt like I don't owe her the whole $2,500. I mean...
So you don't think you owe her the whole $2,500?
Right.
Tell me what part of the $2,500 you think you owe her?
It would really be hard to say because...
Well, I want you to think hard. I mean, it was your statement that I don't owe her the whole $2,500.
I don't know, because the time that I put into the relationship, not only with her, but her son too, it was like, I couldn't really tell, because I was working in the morning and in the afternoon, and my schedule was flexible because I was a trainer, so I, you know, arrange it where, you know, I could make it a better...
Mr. Holdren,
yes.
What part of the $2,500 do you think you should be given credit for, sir?
I don't know.
So I guess you'll have to leave it up to me, right?
Well, I was hoping you'll feel my side of the story as far as me taking care of her son and everything. Because
no, Mr. Holdren, I'm going to make it very, very easy for you, sir. If there is a contract that provides, even an oral one, that you loaned me this money for the car, and I'm going to work it off by taking care of your son at $1.75 an hour while I'm taking care of him, that will be my contribution, so we're going to take that off the car loan. That's an agreement. But after the fact, you don't make that sort of an agreement. You don't sit back there and scratch your head and say, well, I did all these things for her. Therefore, I shouldn't have to owe her that much on what was originally a loan. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's just a lot of double talk that you're doing for me now. $2,500 was the original loan, and you paid her $250. So judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,250. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm just glad that she could see through Thaddeus's lies.
I felt that I shouldn't have to pay that whole amount.
You know, his excuses for why he wasn't paying me.
I felt that I owed her a little bit, but not that much.
I just got tired of his irresponsibility.
I mean, I would have paid her a little bit, but whole $2,000 for the work that I did.
It was always, I'll loan you, I'll give you money when I get it.
I did do a lot for her and her son.
I finally realized he was never going to pay me back unless I did something about it.
That's how things go.
Not to do it again.
Nurse Nancy Anashevska is suing 22-year-old construction worker Ryan Lutz and his friend 21-year-old dairy farmer Corey Henry for damages to her car and for sexually assaulting her 18-year-old daughter Jamie Swanson.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 449 on the calendar in the matter of Anashevska versus Lutz Henry. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mrs. Anashevska, you own a car, but your daughter was driving the car?
No, my daughter owned the car.
Your daughter is how old?
16. She worked for 2 years to purchase this car. I own it with
Who was the titled owner of the car?
Both of us.
Okay, because she's a minor, she can't own the property.
Right.
That's why you're here. And according to your complaint, these two young men took your daughter's car really almost without her permission or with her coerced permission, according to you. She was in the car. They drove the car recklessly. They blew the engine of the car, and they also sexually abused her and assaulted her while she was in the car. That's what you say.
Yes.
That's what your daughter told you.
Yes.
These two guys say, listen, we were at a party. She let us drive the car. We drove the car with her in it around the block a couple of times. Nothing else happened. The car died. They had nothing to do with it. Is that right, gentlemen?
That's correct.
Okay. So since you weren't there and you really don't know what happened, is that a fair statement?
That's fair.
I just have a few questions for you, then you can sit down. When did this incident happen with your daughter?
July 26th.
And when had she gone out that day?
She'd been at a family reunion until roughly 10-ish.
Don't look at her, look at me.
Roughly 10 when she was...
10 p.m.?
Correct.
So she was at a family reunion with you all day?
No, with her father.
Okay.
We're divorced.
So you really don't know anything that happened that day?
It's just from her.
Just for my purposes, I'm going to get what she told you. She told you she got a call. She was at a reunion with her father until 10 o'clock. Then she got a call from some people and she left.
Correct.
And did she tell you where she went?
To be a sober driver for this party.
Now you can sit down. Step up. Tell me your first name.
Jamie.
Ryan.
How old are you, Ryan?
22. Corey. 21.
What time had you arrived at this party?
Around 7 o'clock.
How many people were there?
Probably 10, 12.
And whose house was it at?
Friends, Mike.
What time did you see her at the party?
It's been 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Is that right?
No, it was later than that.
How late?
It was around 10:30.
What were you doing at the party?
Anna, a friend of mine from high school, had called me and she was drinking.
Called you where?
On my cell phone. I was on my way back home and asked me to drive her because she had been drinking.
So you arrived at this party. Had you known about the party that day?
No.
You had no idea that there was a party at Mike's house?
Exactly.
Did you know Mike?
From school, yes.
So you knew him?
Yes.
Had you ever been to his house before?
No.
So you got there at 10:30, and what did you do?
I drove some people home. I drove some people to Quick Trip.
You drove some people home?
Yes.
Who did you drive home?
Anna and Sarah.
About how far was it to drive them home from Mike's house?
It was probably a 10-minute drive.
And what did you do after you dropped them off?
Well, we went to her house and were there for
Who's
Anna's house, sorry.
Went to Anna's house, just the three of you?
Right. And we were there for about a half an hour. Her mother asked if she had driven. She said no, I was the sober driver. And I talked to her mother. And then she decided she wanted to go back to the party. So I took her back.
That was pretty stupid.
Yes, it was.
So you took her back to the party. Where was her mother when you decided to take her back to the party?
She went to sleep.
So, Jamie, I'm not stupid. Maybe your mother's willing to believe all this nonsense that you told her. I'm not. Because if you went to pick up your friend because you wanted to be a good Samaritan and your friend had been drinking and you took her home, then you say, so your mother is saying, you're a very responsible young lady. But a very responsible young lady doesn't say, okay, then I'm going to take you back to the party so we could all party.
I had no intention of letting that happen.
Then you go home. You don't drive back another 10 minutes to take her to a party. Now, when you took her back to the party, what was your intention?
Everyone seemed like they were staying there, so I wasn't needed anymore.
What do you mean you weren't needed anymore? You went to pick her up because she had been drinking too much to drive home. You take her home. She decides to go back to the party to drink some more, so you decide that she doesn't need you anymore, and you were leaving.
My main goal was that nobody drove drunk that night.
Then you shouldn't have taken her back. I'm telling you, madam, your mother may believe this nonsense that you told her. I don't. If your main goal was that nobody should be drunk and driving, then you leave your friend at home, at her home, and you say, I'm going home now. So then you drive her back to the party, along with the other girl, I assume.
Yes.
And then you were leaving.
Yes.
So what happened?
As I was walking out, they stopped me, Corey and Ryan, and wanted to drive my car. I said no, I was tired. I worked in the morning. I wanted to get home, but they insisted that they at least see it. So as they walked me to my car, they kept pressuring me into letting them drive it, and finally I decided it would just be easier to let them. I didn't want them to not like me. I felt kind of peer pressured, and so I let Ryan drive the car, and as I went to get into the passenger seat, Corey then got in first and pulled me onto his lap, and Ryan started driving very fast into these country roads.
And they began fishtailing around gravel road corners, doing 93 miles an hour and screaming that the car would only go 93 miles an hour. And while they were doing this, I kept asking them to slow down or stop, and they wouldn't.
And?
And as we went back into town, the car started making some funny noises, and they told me it was a belt and it would probably just straighten out. And I was worried. I knew that wasn't right, but I was tired and I felt really violated, and I just wanted to get home.
Why did you feel violated?
Because while Ryan was totaling my car, Corey continued to try to grope my breasts and to get his hands in my pants, and I kept trying to have to fight him off, and he wouldn't stop.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She kind of started making moves at me and Ryan.
I want you to show me with Ryan. Ryan's next to you. How she rubbed up against you, sir?
Kind of like this, and then, you know, kind of back and forth, and sitting on my lap. You know, she was rubbing my leg and stuff like that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 18-year-old Jamie Swanson claims former friends Ryan Lutz and Corey Henry damaged her car during a party. Jamie also says Corey sexually assaulted her.
What time did you get back?
It was about 12:31.
Well, let me figure this timeline out. 10:30 you arrived at the party. You picked up your friend and her friend. You drove her home. 10 minutes. Let's say that's 11:15. According to you, you stayed at Anna's house for a half hour. That's 11:15. Then she wanted to go back to the party. You got her back to the party. That's 11:30. Now it's 12:30 or 1 o'clock. I'm missing an hour and a half. What happened in that hour and a half?
There were people there that wanted things from the Quick Trip in the gas station in Iota. So I took a list of what everyone wanted and went down and got it for them. I just made sure nobody drove. That was...
Oh, Jamie, that's such a crock. You made excuses to your mother because the car got totaled. I don't believe that you went there and then you took lists of things of people that wanted, and you went grocery shopping for everybody. I mean, I don't understand that.
I had a friend who was killed by a drunk driver, and ever since then, I don't want anyone driving.
Jamie, if you don't want anyone driving, then you drove your friend Anna home, and you leave her there. You don't take her back to the party.
Can I say something?
No, you weren't there. You believe this story?
I have a letter from someone that saw her.
You believe that, saw her do what?
That saw her at the Quick Trip with the other kids intoxicated.
What does that have to do with, I believe she went there. I believe she was part of this party. Whether it's because she wanted to be accepted or whether she wanted to be part of the group, she went to the party. And you believe this story that she took her friend back to the party because if she didn't take her back, somebody else would have? You believe that?
I don't think it was a smart thing to do, but I believe her, yeah.
Then you'd be responsible for your own car. Take off the blinders. I'm not finished with you. We haven't even started yet. Who was driving?
I was.
Why?
I just wanted to take the car for a ride.
Why?
Just never drove that kind of car, and I guess we just wanted to go for a ride around the block.
You had been drinking?
Had probably 2 beers.
I don't care what you say you had. If you got there at 7 o'clock,
Yes.
by 10:30 or 11 o'clock, you had more than 2 beers, young man. Now, you decide you want to take the car out for a spin. Is that what you say to her? Can I take your car for a ride?
Yes.
And what did she say?
She gave me the keys, and we all hopped in the car and we went around the block.
No. I want you to take it step by step, Ryan. Let's do a step by step. You had the keys in your hand.
Yes.
You got into the car.
Yes.
What happened next?
And we got in. I got in, started up the car. Corey got in. She got in and got on his lap.
Why did she get on your lap, sir?
I got in, and she wanted to come along, and it's just a 2-seater car, no bench seat.
Oh, it's just a 2-seater?
Yeah, so I'm cramped up.
There's no back seat?
No, it does have it's just bucket seats, but it's got a back seat also, yes.
So she wanted to come along, she didn't want to sit in the back?
I guess.
How much had you been drinking that night?
About probably 3-4 beers.
And what about the plaintiff? Did you see her drink anything?
I did not see her, but I did not get there until 11 o'clock.
Okay. Where were you up until 11 o'clock?
I was working until 9, and then a friend come and pick me up.
All right, well, that's not... You're working until 9. Where were you between 9 and 11?
We stopped in Dover and talked to a couple people, and then we went to another place, and then we arrived out there.
So you went to a couple of parties first?
Yes.
See how I made that simple for you?
Yes.
You know, sometimes young people think that older people, not old people, but older people, they have this lapse and they were just born old. It's really not true. Bird remembers what happens when he was young. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
So she got on your lap.
Yes.
And then what happened?
And then we proceeded to leave, and as we were going out of town, she kind of started making moves at me and Ryan. And
How did she make moves at you and Ryan? Now, I want you to be very careful, because, you know, I'm really good at this. You know.
started rubbing
Keep me
up.
here, because I'm gorgeous. They keep me here because I'm really good at it.
She started rubbing up against me, and
How did she do that?
Just
You know what I want you to do? I want you to show me with Ryan. Ryan's next to you. How she rubbed up against you, sir. I want you to show me that.
She was kind of like this, and then kind of, rubbing on my shoulder.
I want to see.
Going like this and rubbing my arm and leg. And
she was rubbing your arm?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, she must have had her arm around your arm. Is that right?
Correct.
Show me how she had her arm around.
Kind of like this, and then, kind of back and forth, and sitting on my lap, she was rubbing my leg and stuff like that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And, I said, no, I didn't want nothing to do with it. I didn't know her.
Just a second. Shh, please. Please. You said, I don't want nothing to do with that.
That is correct.
And what did she say to you?
She didn't say nothing.
Did she stop?
Yes, she did.
How fast were you driving?
60, 65, 70 maybe. I don't know. I couldn't see the speedometer.
Fast?
Not out of...
60, 65, and 70. You weren't on a highway, were you?
There was...
You weren't on a highway the entire way, were you?
No, not the entire way.
What happened when you got back to the party?
After we got out, I realized that we were kind of blocking this neighbor's driveway, and I'd mentioned that to Ryan, and he proceeded to get back in the car, and they wouldn't start. And after that, we popped the hood to see if we could see what was going on or try and get it started, and we couldn't do that.
So now the car doesn't start. You had the car towed, is that right?
Yes.
Now, at what point, Jamie, did you call the police and tell them that you had been sexually assaulted by Corey?
The next day after it happened.
Can I see the police report, please? What time did you get home that night, Jamie?
It was about 1:30, 2 a.m.
Who took you home?
Anna.
So, Anna, your drunken friend took you home, is that right?
Right.
Who was home?
Nobody was. My neighbor was staying with me.
So nobody's home. Where was your mother?
She went to her husband's house. He had to live in Sioux City, Iowa, because of his visa. He's from Poland.
So instead of staying with your father where you had some supervision, you started to stay in your own house where you had no supervision. Is that right?
My neighbor was staying with me.
Your neighbor wasn't supervising you, madam. You were out until 1:30 in the morning, 2 o'clock. What kind of supervision is that?
Not very good.
You were having a party. Now, at what point did you find out that your car wouldn't start, that the engine had blown on your car?
The day after I had it towed, the mechanic looked at it.
You had it towed?
Yes.
The next day?
Yes.
What time?
It was probably about 3 or 4-ish.
When did you find out that the car wouldn't start that day, on the 27th of July? Did you go back there in the morning?
I went back there, yes.
What time in the morning?
What was it? 9.
And at that time, it wouldn't start?
Right.
Right? Okay. And did you call the mechanic?
Yes.
And told the mechanic, please come and tow the car? Or he said to you he would come and tow the car?
It was a different towing service. It was AAA. So they towed the car. The mechanic...
What time?
3 or 4 in the afternoon.
And you waited at the house all that time?
I waited at the car.
At the car?
Yes.
Well, the car was at the house.
Yes.
You waited in the car or at the house?
I waited in the car. I was in the house for a brief moment.
So you were in the house too?
Yes.
Who was in the house?
Ryan and Aaron were there, and Jared was there, and Mike.
What time did you go to the police station?
7-ish.
In the evening?
Yes.
See what I mean? You always get yourself tripped up, honey.
I'm sorry.
You're sorry? I'm going to tell you, you're sorry. It's very easy. If you have been sexually assaulted, you don't hang around with the guys who were responsible, at least one of them who was responsible for your being sexually assaulted the whole day, and then go to the police station in the evening to report it.
I was very, very upset after it happened, and...
Then you go to the police station right away. You don't wait until after you find out that your car's got a blown engine, and then start looking for a story. When the police asked you if you wanted to file charges with regard to the sex assault, what did you tell them?
I told them I didn't know yet. My mom was trying to make an arrangement so that I wouldn't have to deal with any of it because I was really emotional at the time.
No, this is what you told the police. You told the police that you didn't know whether you wanted to file charges or not because your mother had already contacted the two suspects' parents, and if they pay for the damage done to the motor, they won't file charges.
She was looking into my best interest so that I wouldn't have to see them again.
You saw them. You spent the day with them the next day.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Corey, what's your last name?
Henry.
Case is dismissed as relates to Corey Henry. Sit down. I don't believe a word of what you say about being sexually assaulted by this young man. But I do believe that you took a car, and I do believe that you drove it recklessly, and I believe that you took it with her permission. So that means that both of you were responsible for what happened to the car. You're responsible and you're responsible. Now let me see the bill for the damage. When you leave a 17-year-old alone, unsupervised, they get into trouble. You understand that?
Yes.
This is a bill for therapy.
She's been in counseling ever since, and I have a letter from her psychiatrist stating that.
It's your bill. Next time you stay home with your daughter. If you paid $2,600 for the car a year and a half ago, I've taken off $600 for the year that she drove the car, year and some months that she drove the car, leaving the value of the car $2,000. I consider both of you responsible. You responsible and you responsible for what happened to the car. Do you understand?
Yes.
So, she's going to pay some and you're going to pay some. Is that reasonable?
Yes.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He violated me, and I don't, you know, I paid so much for that car, and I worked really hard for it, and he didn't even have to pay for it.
I feel like she just wanted money.
He was groping her in the car. She wanted to hide it. We worked with Rape Line, and Rape Line was the one that sent us to the police department.
I was getting calls from her mother stating that if we didn't pay for the car, she's going to charge us with fifth-degree sexual assault.
Hopefully that they won't do this to anyone else, because nobody deserves this.
She ended up letting the drunk driver drive her home. What's that say?
Voiceover artist Scott Laverty is suing technical director Shannon Burrows for filing false charges of road rage. Shannon is countersuing for damage to his truck and lost wages.
Order. All rise.
Now, this is case number 223 on the calendar in the matter of Laverty versus Burrows. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Laverty, it is your claim, sir, that the defendant filed false charges against you.
Yes.
False charges, a road rage type incident.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Burrows says that the charges he filed were, in fact, true, and is counterclaiming for damages that he alleges were caused when you broke or cracked his windshield during this incident. What time of the day did this incident start?
About 12:30.
On what date?
November 20th, 2001.
And what kind of vehicle were you driving, Mr. Laverty?
A 97 Dodge Ram truck.
And you, sir?
A 98 Toyota Tacoma pickup truck.
Where were you going, Mr. Laverty?
I was on my way to the gym.
And you?
On my way to work.
When did you first notice the plaintiff?
A little past the 101-170 interchange.
And where were you in relation to the plaintiff?
I was in the left lane.
Because you were the complainant in this case, right?
Originally in the criminal complaint, yes.
Go ahead.
I was in the left lane of the 101 freeway southbound.
You were in the passing lane?
Correct.
And where was Mr. Laverty?
He came up behind me in the same lane.
So he wanted you to move over so that...
He was flashing his high beams and he was at a pretty high rate of speed.
So he wanted you to move over?
I attempted to oblige.
What do you mean you attempted to oblige?
I turned on my right signal and began to move over into the number 2 lane, at which point he accelerated around me, honking his horn, and pulled back into the number 1 lane of traffic.
Okay, what happened next?
He locked his brakes up in a big cloud of smoke until we were all stopped. Pretty much all the other cars, the freeway came to a stop.
You were able to stop?
I was able to stop and not hit him. As soon as he passed me and pulled back in the lane, I realized I better slow down, so I began slowing down. He was traveling faster than me and had a much heavier vehicle, so he was quite a bit distance up the road past me.
And everybody else was able to stop too?
Well, at least the 1, 2, and 3 lanes, everybody pretty much stopped, and we kind of looked at each other like, what do we do? At that point, I saw the reverse lights come on in the pickup truck, and he started reversing, which made me pretty nervous. I got eye contact with the cars in the other lane, and I was able to pull off to the shoulder without too much trouble.
What happened next?
He did the same. He pulled over to the far right emergency lane.
Okay. Go ahead.
But quite a ways up, at which point he started reversing up the right emergency shoulder. At that point, I realized that this was not going to dissipate, so I called the CHP.
Okay. And then what happened?
He started getting closer to my vehicle, at which point
Try looking at me all the time.
Okay. He started getting closer to my vehicle, at which point I saw the brake lights come on. I pulled back into traffic, at which point I was talking to the 911 operator, and I proceeded southbound on the 101, and he finally caught up to me, at which point I really couldn't see him. I could feel the energy, and I heard a pretty loud thud against the side of my truck. He then sped off, and I kind of lost sight of him for a little while. And then when I get off at the exit at Cahuenga, he's there. And I guess the 911 operator said, "Can you see the license plate number?" I said yes. I blurted the license plate number to the operator, at which point Mr. Laverty, got out of his truck with a cat's paw nail prying tool, which I reported to the 911 operator, and then I sped away and pulled back onto the freeway, at which point I was talking to the 911 operator, who said they transferred me to the LAPD at that point, and they told me to go to the Wilcox Hollywood Police Department to fill out the report.
And that's what happened?
Yes. As I was leaving the crossing Cahuenga, I was driving away, and he threw a metal object. I don't know what the metal object was, and I went back to look to see if I could find it, and it was not there. A small silver lug nut or a socket, which hit the windshield and cracked it.
How come you left that out? How come you left it out of your narrative, Mr. Burrows? It's sort of interesting that that's formed the basis, really, of your complaint against him, and when you told me the whole story, you left that out of the narrative.
Well,
that's interesting.
Well, okay.
Just a minute. All right, Mr. Laverty, now I want you to tell me your version of the events, please.
All right. I was traveling southbound on the 170 freeway, where the 101 interchange is. There was a problem at the Vineland exit. Mr. Burrows was in that traffic jam. Our lanes on the 170 were completely free. I was doing about 65, 70 miles an hour.
What do you mean, your lanes? You mean the left lane, the passing lane?
Yeah, there's two lanes on the 170 that merge with the 101. I was in the fast lane. To the left of me was a carpool lane. To the right, the slow lane. He crossed the double white lines from a dead stop, crossed over the slow lane, went into the fast lane directly in front of me. I had to slam on my brakes to avoid hitting him. As I'm slamming on my brakes, he starts punching his brake pedal, giving me the bird, yelling in his rear view mirror.
You don't hear him yelling, you just see something, right?
No, I hear him.
How could you hear
His
him?
window's open. Well, I guess
How
not
could
hearing
you?
him, but he's looking in the rear
Mr.
view.
Laverty, I've been around probably longer than you have, and there's a certain common sense. If you're driving 65 miles an hour and somebody is in front of you, you don't hear them if they're yelling at you in their rearview mirror. Do you understand?
I do.
Okay.
I didn't hear him.
You didn't hear him.
I saw him
You
yelling.
saw him mouth.
That's what I was.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Anyhow, I tried passing to the right. He cut me off, still hitting his brakes. I tried passing to the left. He sprayed windshield wiper fluid on my car.
How did that happen?
I guess he hit his windshield wiper dearly.
As he was passing you?
No. He's cutting me off to the left. I'm behind him again.
Right.
Then he sprayed the windshield wiper fluid on me.
Maybe his windshield was dirty. Or maybe it was cracked. Who knows? Go ahead.
He's a giggler.
Right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Anyhow, I tried to pass to the right. He threw batteries, or what looked to be batteries, out of his car window at my car. I pulled away from him. He pulled over behind me. I came to a stop. He pulled back into traffic.
Now, you were going to the gym.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is your gym?
On Cole Street.
Cole Street.
Yes.
And what exit do you get off to go to the
Cahuenga.
gym? Cahuenga.
Yeah.
And where do you work?
I work at the Film Institute.
And what exit do you get off at?
I get off at the Vineland, the Argyle excuse me, Argyle.
Argyle.
It's the one right past Cahuenga.
But you got off at Cahuenga.
That's correct.
Don't tell me because anything. You actually followed him off.
That's
the
correct.
exit.
Can I explain?
No.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't know how his windshield got broken. Crowbar, lug nut, a pair of stockings, a pair of underpants. I don't know what broke his windshield.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Scott Laverty says he had phony assault charges filed against him by Shannon Burroughs. Shannon says Scott is a maniac.
Go ahead.
I turned right at the end of the off-ramp. He appeared out of nowhere, just like a bat out of it. Anyway, he just appeared real quick. I saw him in my rearview mirror, revving up to me, hitting his brake, revving up, hitting his brake, like he's going to hit me. So I get to the end of the off-ramp, I turn right, about 20 yards, I pull over, he pulls behind me, then does a U-turn, gets right back on the freeway. That is the end of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Not the lies, just the story.
Mm-hmm. And after the trial, you were found not guilty.
Of all the counts.
I would like to see what you have of the police report, please.
I have a 911 tape as evidence.
Oh, I'd like to hear the 911 tape.
I'm sure you will.
What?
The actual... Sorry. I won't do it again.
Berg, would you take the 911 tape, please, and bring it up here? Because I can never hear from over there. I assume that that's keyed up to the right place?
Yeah.
I'd like to hear it.
What is wrong with this guy? He's doing like 100 miles an hour now. I couldn't get it to pay. What is going on? I couldn't smoke. What's your name? My name is Shannon Burroughs. B-U-R-O-U-G-H-S. Okay, we'll go to broadcast information, okay? Should I try to get it put in here? That might be too dangerous. A little broadcast. No. Don't worry about it. Okay. I've got 5 L8. Okay. And, is it about you? Yeah, it should be about just do a quick part of my car. Time? 911, where's that by 659? 5FP, speed transfer. Hi. Give me the address of where you're calling from or what and what's going on. A guy on the freeway threw several objects at my car, pulled in front of me, slamming on his brakes. I did nothing to provoke him. And
what's the address?
It's Hollywood, I would say Vine and Yucca.
On the street, sir?
Yeah, and he's damaged my vehicle, so I need to follow this up.
Okay, sir, did he throw these objects at you on the freeway?
Oh, it's on the freeway and on the surface street.
So he started on the freeway throwing stuff at you?
Oh, that's right, and he cracked my windshield.
Okay, how long ago did he tell me? Of course, it's probably about 10 minutes from
Yeah, it's about 10 minutes ago. I had to literally go through a red light and go around a big U-turn because this guy was throwing crowbars, or what appeared to be a crowbar at my truck, and broke my windshield.
Okay, did you want to make a report over the phone?
What do you think I should do? I mean, I need to recoup my loss here because I know for a fact that this windshield is about $500.
Mr. Burroughs, you told the police what was happening. You asked the police whether you should follow Mr. Laverty and get his plate number. They tell you not to do that. You decide to do it anyway. So clearly you felt as if you were not in any danger because you did follow him off the freeway. You got off at his exit, came up against him quickly, and while you originally told me that what cracked your windshield was a small lug nut, perhaps you couldn't see it, but a small lug nut, you clearly told the police that what broke your windshield was a crowbar that he had thrown at your car.
That's right.
Which is probably why the case was dismissed against Mr. Lafferty, because your testimony was so inconsistent. You say in your answer, Mr. Burroughs, that he's lucky he got off on a technicality. That's not a technicality. You're the only witness to this event. And when the only witness to this event gives false or inconsistent statements in order to buttress their version of the events, person who has to decide the case in that case, a criminal case, says, I can't believe him. I can't convict somebody beyond a reasonable doubt with all this inconsistent testimony. Go ahead.
When I had blurted out that it was the crowbar, I was on the 911 call. I was full of adrenaline, and the only thing that I had originally seen in his hand was the cat's paw, which is a small crowbar. But when my blood pressure came down a little bit and I thought about it, I remember seeing a small silver object coming at my truck. That's when I heard the impact. So you're right. I was under duress, and I did say crowbar because that's the only thing I had seen at the time.
You weren't under duress, sir. You both of you guys driving around in your pickups had a little bit too much adrenaline flowing that day. You, Mr. Laverty, were probably going a little too fast.
I was doing about 65. I was going with the flow of traffic.
Oh. And Mr. Burroughs, I don't know, maybe he didn't like the fact that your truck was bigger than his. I have no idea what it was.
I'm sorry, but
I have no idea what it was, Mr. Lafferty, but I want to ask you this question. First of all, I'm dismissing his counterclaim. He's got a counterclaim for his broken windshield. I don't know how his windshield got broken. Crowbar, lug nut, a pair of stockings, a pair of underpants. I don't know what broke his windshield. Clearly, I cannot make a determination that it was anything that came out of your hand or out of your truck. You have a complaint against him. Your complaint is one for really having you falsely arrested. And what I want, you look like a relatively reasonable person. Is there anything that you could have done that day to prevent any interaction with Mr. Burroughs?
No, I tried. I pulled over to let him pass. I got off on my exit after he had passed. He was behind me. I did everything I could. The crack on that windshield is a little tiny line. The original Polaroids were the property of the city attorney's office. They handed them to the jury. You literally couldn't see the crack. The picture of the crack in the report you have right there is blown up about 4 or 5 times. Do you think if I threw this at his windshield?
That is not
We're
at
not
all.
done. We're not. It's not you.
Oh, okay.
Or even a lug nut that maybe weighs 4 or 5 ounces. There would be an impact point. I threw nothing at his windshield.
Let me tell you something. There is no question in my mind that he acted inappropriately that day. I just wanted to know, from your perspective, was there anything that you could have done? Let's say you were a shy, timid little old lady driving around in a station wagon instead of a big guy driving around in a pickup truck.
All right.
With somebody else in the left lane, they're in the left lane, jockeying for position.
All right.
Is there anything that you think that little old lady could have done to get away from him so that this whole thing wouldn't have happened?
She probably would have had a heart attack.
Mr. Laverty, what I find most persuasive about your arguments are, quite frankly, is you got off at your exit and he didn't. You got off at your exit to go to your gym, to take care of the rest of your business, what you were going to do, and this gentleman here did absolutely nothing but continue the provocation. And quite frankly, I cannot, in my mind's eye, see the 101 freeway, is that what they're talking about here? The 101 freeway, all 3 lanes coming to a complete stop and everybody looking at each other. What do we do now?
We're talking about a pile of smoke. It was a cloud of smoke.
Anti-lock brakes. My brakes don't skid. My wheels don't.
So not true.
Just a second. I cannot imagine, unless every news channel around would have a picture of that, the lanes of traffic on the 101 coming to a complete stop because of some guys playing around in their trucks.
And then I'm going to go backwards with 70-mile-an-hour people coming out.
Exactly the point why I called 911, because it was obviously someone out of control.
You were.
No, I think Mr. Burroughs. Mr. Burroughs.
Way out of control.
Don't push. Mr. Burroughs, I think that from your perspective, you thought that he was driving inappropriately.
I just wanted to get out of his way.
No.
You hopped in my way.
That's just not true.
It is true.
It's just not
Mr.
true.
Laverty,
I mean, you're saying
you
that I
just
was
lost
in
your
stop
case.
traffic?
I want to tell you something. You just lost your case. You want to know why you lost your case?
How?
Because you have a bad temper. You can't even be quiet when I tell you to be quiet. And you keep saying, I'm sorry. That doesn't cut it. That doesn't cut it. You have to be able to control your temper under all circumstances. He didn't do the right thing. If he's got a broken windshield, he's going to take care of it himself. Now,
Which I did.
Which you did, and he's not going to.
He's not going to have to pay for it.
Oh, he sure is not going to have to pay you for it. But I certainly am not going to issue a judgment in your favor, Mr. Laverty. I think that you both probably acted a little inappropriately that day. And I think that if you had it to do all over again, perhaps you know that you lost a great deal of time defending these charges. He lost a great deal of time being involved with this. Plus, do you work?
Yes, full time.
What kind of work do you do?
I do technical direction.
Full time. And you?
I do voiceover work.
Okay. So you both work. You don't work full time, that I know. You work part time when the
You don't
jobs
know
come
yet.
up.
I haven't said whether I do or not. So
Well,
how would
if
you know
you're
that?
If you're doing voiceover work, that usually doesn't mean that it's a 9 to 5
I
job,
know.
Monday through Friday.
I'm still trying to figure out why he interrupted me and I get yelled at.
I'm sorry.
You're sorry.
I am.
Very
I don't
easy.
understand it.
Very easy. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Party's not excused. You may step out.
Well, he's a big guy in a big truck and wants to bully his way down the freeway.
Everything he said was wrong. There was holes in the